Okay, hello people. Well, if you are new to this, let me tell you the rundown right now. So, this is our weekly live stream, which I kind of forgot about and didn't do weekly. But, anyways, that doesn't matter because I have it all set up right now. And the way we do this is we just go through the news, the political stuff, some of the funny stuff, and really anything that is happening in the world. And then if we do make it to the end, we're probably just gonna be watching some horror stuff. So welcome to the live stream. I hope you guys have a great day, got some snacks, watching on a second monitor, perhaps. And if you do see me look away, that is because I am checking on my phone, which I am watching from. But anyways, let's get straight into it. And this is brought to you by DBLR News Global. And it's just one day old, but let's get straight into it. We're going from news, politics, and then into the other stuff later. Let me do that. And let me do that. There we go. We are good. Pick it off 4K. That's going to cook my computer.
For the past few months, one of the key points of tension between the US and Iran has been Iran's insistence on exercising control over the Strait of Hormuz. Since the war kicked off, Iran has attacked ships passing through the main bit of...
I mean, to be fair, this was probably what would always have happened. If we're being honest, if we're being completely honest, everyone knew this was going to happen.
the strait,
Yet they still did
has
it.
instead tried to force them to transit through the narrow passage between Iran's Qashm and Arak Islands, allowing Iran to impose a sort of toll, which is apparently collected in the form of crypto and amounts to roughly $2 million per ship. Unsurprisingly, the Americans didn't like this. Not just because continued control of the strait would give Iran a permanent form of leverage against the US and its Gulf allies, who rely heavily on the strait for exporting their oil and gas, but also because it was illegal under international law, which is something the US apparently cares about.
So now people care about international law? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, international law has to be the most, useless thing in history. It does nothing if you are semi-powerful. You pretend to follow it.
This was Marco Rubio, for instance, speaking on June 23rd.
Well, that's the law. It's an international waterway. No country is allowed to charge tolls or fees on an international waterway. That's existing international law. That's the way it is in international waterways all over the world, and that's the way we expect it'll be here. So I don't think we have anybody to convince around here in that regard.
I'm not gonna lie, it must be hot as hell out there. He's sweating hella.
I think all the countries in this region would agree with it.
However, on Monday, the US suddenly changed its tune, with Trump announcing via Truth Social that the US, henceforth referred to as the guardian of the Hormuz Strait, would actually be charging its own tolls on the strait, calculated at 20% of the value of the ship's cargo. In practice, many times more expensive than the current Iranian.
Hold up. We're double tolling? What? Huh? So Iran sets up a toll, and then it goes to... Okay, so we're just double dipping?
System. So in this video, we're going to look at Trump's latest gambit. Why, as insane as it might sound, it wasn't wholly unforeseeable, and why it will probably backfire in the longer run. This spring, we visited Greenland.
Hold up, let me just get past that.
US and Iran were never able to actually agree on how the Strait of Hormuz should be handled. In last month's negotiations, the US insisted that Iran should give up control of the strait and return things to their pre-war status quo, while Iran insisted that the new toll system was here to stay. In the end, the two sides agreed on a sort of fudge. Iran agreed to stop imposing tolls during the 60-day ceasefire outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding, and, quote, take steps to ensure that the movement of merchant ships is returned within 30 days to the pre-war volume, taking into account the need for the removal of technical obstacles and the neutralization of mines by Iran. But the two sides seem to have interpreted this clause very differently. In his Truth Social post announcing the deal, for instance, Trump talked about a toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and told the New York Times that the strait would be, quote, permanently toll-free. But this never really made sense, given that the MOU only covered the subsequent 60 days.
I mean, yeah.
Furthermore, the Iranians apparently interpreted this clause quite differently. In an interview with state media, for instance, Iran's foreign minister claimed that under the MOU, future management of the waterway will be different from the past. And
also, if you guys are wondering why I'm looking back, it's because my little brother is sleeping on my bed and currently trying to lay on top of my laptop. I don't know what to do.
that services will no longer be free. In essence, it sounds like Iran nominally agreed to not impose tolls, but instead planned to charge quote-unquote service fees, essentially just rebranding the existing toll system. Unsurprisingly,
it's kind of like the mafia here. Protection fees, you know?
This fudge proved somewhat unsustainable, and almost immediately after the MOU was signed, Iran and the US started arguing over how ships would pass through the strait. Even if it wasn't charging tolls, Iran wanted ships to continue passing through Qeshm and Larak, while the US instead started encouraging ships to basically use the other side of the strait and just hug the Omani coastline. This made it nearly impossible for Iran to collect tolls, and there was an implicit argument here that because the ships were transiting through Oman's territorial waters, Iran lacked jurisdiction in the first place. By the way, this will put Oman in an incredibly difficult position. Oman has traditionally maintained cordial relations with both Iran and the US, acting as a useful and trustworthy intermediary, but now came under intense pressure to basically pick a side. The Iranians were pushing for the two countries to set up a joint toll system and share the proceeds, while the US signaled that they would consider any such scheme unacceptable, with Trump literally threatening to blow up Oman if they misbehaved.
That's actually crazy. So you're... What the fuck is happening? Okay, so you're telling me if a country doesn't behave the way you want it to, you just blow it up? Oh, bro, this fuck-ass president.
Iran wants control of the Strait of Hormuz. Would you accept a short-term deal that allows Iran and Oman to control the strait? And would they have to open it immediately, or would you be open to that happening over a period of time?
No, the strait's going to be open to everybody.
And who would control
It's
it?
international waters.
Now you care about that?
Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
This disagreement seems to be the fundamental reason the war restarted recently, and the three ships that Iran apparently hit last week, which is what triggered the original military reaction from the US, were all hugging the Omani coastline. Predictably, once it became clear that the war was back on, Iran announced that the strait was once again closed, with the implication that any ships wanting to pass would once again have to go through Iran's new toll booths. Equally predictably, the US reacted by reimposing the blockade on everything coming in and out of Iran's ports. Somewhat less predictably, however, was Trump's announcement that the US would impose its own tolls, calculated at 20% of the value of a ship's cargo. In practice, this would be many times more expensive than the current Iranian tolls, which allegedly come in at about $2 million per ship. Think about a supertanker, for instance. They can carry about 2 million barrels of oil. At the current price of $85 a barrel, that implies a total value of about $170 million. 20% of this, which is what Trump is proposing for his new toll system, will come to about $34 million, 17 times more expensive than Iran's current toll of $2 million. This obviously came as a shock, but it isn't a wholly new idea. Trump has been complaining about the role that the US Navy plays in guaranteeing freedom of navigation in far-off waterways since his first term, and has floated the idea of the US imposing tolls on the strait on multiple occasions since the war. In June, for instance, he suggested that if no deal was agreed, the US could impose tolls for services rendered as the guardian angel to the countries of the Middle East, for purposes of both past, present, and future reimbursement of costs. And way back in April, Trump was suggesting that the US could impose tolls as sort of a reward for winning the war.
Mr. President, are you allowed to, or are you willing to end this conflict with Iran charging tolls for passage through the strait?
Us charging tolls?
Iran.
What about us charging tolls?
Is that something you're considering?
I'd rather do that than let them have them, right? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won, okay? They are militarily defeated. The only thing they have is the psychology of, oh, we're going to drop a couple of...
Okay, so, like, let me get this straight. We won the war. but they're still somehow controlling the strait. That doesn't really make sense. Now, does it? Because if they're militarily defeated, how are they projecting power to the strait? If they have no military. Oh,
Mines
bro.
in the water, all right? No, we have a concept where we'll charge tolls, okay? I thought you meant us. Your question would have been more accurate if you said us. Go ahead.
More generally, this is pretty consistent with Trump's broader attitude towards foreign policy. He thinks of the US as being taken advantage of, and is always pressing even America's traditional allies for compensation, usually in the form of cash. But while behaving like a mafia state might work in the short term, in the long term it'll just incentivize other countries to reduce their dependence on the US wherever they can. In this specific case, for instance, while the US might be able to squeeze some cash out of its Gulf allies, in the medium to long term, it will just encourage them to find or create alternatives to the strait, as they're already doing, and push them closer to other potential security guarantors, including most obviously China. Now, as you're probably aware, it's kind of impossible to avoid talking or thinking about the big players that control our world, much like the ones we've spoken about in today's.
Okay. And then we're on to the next video here, which is just about oil prices. Nothing too much. Let's get straight into it.
The war in Iran has apparently restarted in earnest. Both the US and Iran have traded strikes and disavowed diplomacy, with Trump saying the recently agreed Memorandum of Understanding is over.
Honestly, I thought it was the Islamic Republic of Japan.
And the Iranians describing further negotiations as futile. Unsurprisingly, the Iranians have reacted by, once again, declaring the Strait of Hormuz closed.
Yeah.
This has pushed oil prices up a bit, but not by that much, which might explain why Trump sounds so confident about restarting a war that he was apparently desperate to stop only last month. However, in this video, we're going to explain why Trump's confidence might be misplaced, and why a non-linear oil crisis, in other words, a sudden spike in oil prices
You guys
rather
might
than a
think
gradual
I'm a hater,
increase,
but,
looks
I am.
increasingly likely.
Okay? There's no doubt about it. I don't like it.
This map shows all of the places Trump has launched military offensives, able to draw them down at record rates to increase supply, thus keeping prices relatively low. But this obviously couldn't go on forever, and after a couple of months, most inventories were running dangerously low. Trump actually made this explicit at the G7 summit last month, when, in trying to justify his deal, he claimed that the world was just 4 weeks away from running out of oil.
A lot of money. That's why the world is okay. It's liquid. It's fine. Also, we run out of reserves in about 4 weeks. You know, there are reserves all over the world, and we would really run out, and there'll be a time when you wouldn't be able to get it, and you want to see bedlam?
Unsurprisingly, stockpiles haven't had time to recover in the month or so since the ceasefire was announced.
Exactly.
In fact, the most recent data suggests that countries have actually continued to draw them down since, presumably in an attempt to bring down global oil prices as fast as possible. This means that we're going back into a war with depleted stockpiles, which means we have far less of a cushion to absorb any Hormuz-related drop in supply.
Want to know the crazy part is? Like, we cannot go below a certain threshold of oil, or like everything just stops working. Like, really? You can't really go at zero. You have to go like a little bit above it to maintain it, or the infrastructure just breaks itself.
The second reason we think an oil price spike looks increasingly likely is expectations. In short, one of the other big reasons that oil prices didn't surge during the last phase of the war was that the markets basically expected Trump to chicken out. In other words, they basically bet that Trump wouldn't actually tolerate a severe or prolonged surge in oil prices, both because it would lead to higher prices at the pump in the US, which would make him very unpopular with American voters not far out from the midterms, and because, thanks to AI-related uncertainty, the markets are looking very nervy at the moment, which means that any sort of bad news tends to lead to significant downward movements. The markets thus concluded that, if things actually started getting bad, Trump would chicken out, as he had done in the past. This meant you didn't really see a desperate rush for oil futures like during previous oil crises. For context, when people talk about oil prices or Brent crude, they're usually not talking about what it actually costs to physically buy a barrel of oil right now,
Oh yeah.
which is something that most traders don't do. Rather, they're usually actually referring to the cost of what's known as a near-month futures contract, which basically says you'll get a barrel of oil in a month or two's time. This is what most people trading in the oil market actually trade, because it means that as long as you offload your contract in time, you don't actually have to receive a physical barrel of oil, which most traders don't want to do. Anyway, in previous oil crises, everyone would rush to buy up these futures contracts to guarantee access to a barrel of oil, thus pushing up the market price of oil. This time around, however, while there was some of this, hence the jump in oil prices once the war kicked off, lots of traders instead went and just bought insurance, which meant that, on the perceived off chance that Trump didn't chicken out and oil prices did genuinely spike, they would be financially compensated. This speaks to another reason that the markets were able to cope surprisingly well. The insurance market for oil is just way more developed than it was a few years ago or decades ago. During previous crises, the only way for traders to hedge their bets was to dive straight into the futures markets. The insurance market just wasn't well developed enough, which pushed up prices and created a sort of self-fulfilling price spiral, because higher prices meant more people rushing into the futures market to guarantee access to oil, pushing up prices, etc. Anyway, the point we're trying to make here is that people expected Trump to chicken out, which is one of the reasons they went for insurance rather than futures. The problem here is that the events of the past week or so strongly suggest that Trump has decided that the costs of chickening out and accepting an embarrassingly one-sided deal outweigh the midterm and stock market related costs of restarting the war. Furthermore, the fact that the war has restarted reduces the chance of another ceasefire, both because it proves that the last ceasefire wasn't sustainable and because it will erode whatever trust was left between the two sides. If market expectations adjust accordingly, we should expect oil prices to spike faster this time. The third reason on our list is that there's another war wreaking havoc with the energy markets at the moment, namely the war in Ukraine, where for the past month or so, Ukraine has been striking Russia's energy infrastructure. Most of Ukraine's strikes have targeted refineries, which process crude oil into usable products like diesel and gasoline. But in recent days,
Ukraine has been doing actually pretty fucking well. There's no doubt about it. They've been going crazy.
Expanded the scope of its attacks to include Russian tankers in the Kerch Strait, which links the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea. All in all, this has cut Russia's diesel production capacity by about a third, with significant drops in gasoline and jet fuel too. This is having a significant impact on global markets, not just because Russia accounts for a significant fraction of all refined products, but also because, in an attempt to keep domestic prices low, the Kremlin has banned exports of certain refined products, including most notably diesel, where Russia is usually the world's second largest exporter. All in all, the point we're trying to make is just because we avoided a sudden spike last time, doesn't mean we'll avoid it again this time. Now, as you're probably aware, it's kind of impossible to avoid talking or thinking about the big players that can...
And then we move on to the next. Let's get it. That's a bit old, so let's skip past that. Skip past this. We can do this. Because
every time you load up YouTube, your homepage is generated by the platform's algorithm.
Yeah.
Its job is to present you with a selection of videos that it thinks you'll want to watch and will keep you on the platform. Given that you're watching this video, you're probably interested in news and politics, so some of the videos will likely be about news. Some might be about science, engineering, geography, or whatever else the platform has on offer. This system broadly works well. Obviously, people like to complain about the algorithm, creators especially, but the system generally works to ensure that you're shown videos that interest you and that will keep you on the platform. We're happy, YouTube's happy, you're happy. There's one group who seemingly aren't happy though, and that's the UK's public service broadcasters. Now, these broadcasters actually have a big footprint on YouTube already, far bigger than independent channels like ours. But they actually want more reach. In fact, they believe that they deserve more reach. So they've been lobbying the government to force YouTube to change the way the platform works in order to shift the board in their favour, bringing them more eyeballs and more attention. That all culminated in this government green paper published recently, running through a proposal that fundamentally changes, and some might say breaks, YouTube. So let's unpack that proposal, what the broadcasters want.
It'd be crazy if people just stop using YouTube for that. Or just, like, they get the home pages, but, like, they just don't click on the videos. Or they just remove them from recommended. Like, matter of fact, you should have a button that just says don't recommend that channel. That'd be crazy if that just, like, a bunch of that happened.
And why it's at risk of killing this platform. We probably ought to start by explaining who the public service broadcasters, or PSBs, actually are. The one you're probably most familiar with is the BBC.
Yeah.
They're a state-owned broadcasting corporation primarily funded by the UK's licence fee, with the remaining chunk coming from commercial activities and government grants.
Oh yeah, then you have to have a license to get TV or run cable. Bro, that's actually stupid. Bro, only the UK would cook up some dumb shit like that.
There's Channel 4. They're also state-owned, but unlike the BBC, Channel 4 doesn't receive any of the licence fee. Instead, they're funded by advertising. Despite having to fund themselves, the fact they're owned by the state means that they still operate under a tight mandate to champion diversity, alternative viewpoints, and independent production. Next are ITV, STV in Scotland, and Channel 5. Unlike the BBC, they're commercial companies and are funded by advertising. However, they are still PSBs, as they hold deals with the state in exchange for the right to broadcast on channels 3 and 5. In exchange for these prominent placements on your TV remote and at the top of the TV guide, both are obligated to broadcast a set amount of impartial, high-quality news each year, produce a large proportion of their shows in the UK rather than just importing them, produce content across the UK rather than just in London, with ITV also required to offer regional programming, as well as other obligations when it comes to accessibility and subtitling. Finally, there's S4C,
This all
the
sounds
Welsh
good.
language broadcaster, who receive a small proportion of the licence fee and are obliged to offer similar public service broadcasting in Welsh. Essentially though, regardless of their ownership or funding models, each of these broadcasters has done a deal with the UK government. They get to benefit from being the first things you see when you turn on your TV or open your TV guide, as well as getting huge discounts on TV spectrum. In return, they're obligated to provide some sort of public good. The issue is, though, fewer people are consuming linear TV than ever before. Instead of flicking onto regular TV, people are just as likely to head to a streaming service like Netflix, Disney+, or crucially, YouTube. With YouTube equal to the BBC as the top-ranking video content platform by watch time in the UK. And here's where we circle back to where we started. When you open up YouTube, you're presented with a feed of videos that the platform thinks you'll like. Some of these might be from public service broadcasters, some of them will be from big media companies, and some of them will be from creators like us. That means that on the platforms people are increasingly using, the PSBs no longer get the priority that they've grown so used to. So here comes the green paper, and with it, the issue of prominence. Essentially, the PSBs feel that they're no longer getting a great deal. With prominent placement on TVs decreasingly relevant, PSBs are beginning to wonder why they still have to continue committing to everything in their mandates if they're not also getting extra prominence on other online video platforms too. As such, the Green Paper proposes a new regulatory structure whereby platforms like YouTube are forced to give special prominence to videos produced by PSBs in exchange for...
You know what would be actually crazy if YouTube just decided not to run in the UK? That'd be even worse.
The public service benefits they already offer. The Green Paper does suggest that deals between PSBs and YouTube could be reached via voluntary agreements, but explicitly warns that if these agreements don't go far enough, then the government could introduce formal legislation. They also discuss expanding the scope even beyond PSBs, potentially also looping in other UK-based media outlets, such as national or local newspapers. Now, the government's Green Paper claims that they don't see this as a zero-sum game between broadcasters and creators. But while this might sound good, I just don't see how it can be true. If your homepage is filled with content from PSBs, definitionally it can't feature as much content from other creators. And ultimately, if you're presented with a homepage full of loads of PSB videos about, say, Starmer's resignation, for instance, you're likely to watch them, right? That's why the government is doing this. They too believe that by surfacing these videos more prominently, you're more likely to watch them. Otherwise, this whole debate about prominence is pointless. The problem for us is that our videos, as well as other creator videos, won't appear in this promotional push. And once you've watched Channel 4's video about Starmer's resignation, how likely are you to hunt down ours too? Even if you prefer our videos, which looking at these view counts seems pretty likely, it's very possible that you will just have their videos surfaced instead. And as such, the plans might make the PSBs happy, but frankly it crushes independent creators like us, which really does matter, considering that YouTube already contributes more than £2.2 billion to the UK economy each year. In fact, even the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Digital Creators recognises this, with MP and co-chair of the APPG Ferial Clark saying in a recent report, bluntly, if we're serious about growth, we need to support digital creators and help their businesses to thrive, rather than hamper them by a lack of recognition and support.
Very good,
These proposals are also likely to lead to a worse experience for you too. If you really wanted to watch the content that the BBC or ITV were creating, you'd probably already be on iPlayer or ITVX watching their programming. In fact, at the risk of just coming for the BBC directly, if you look at their viewership across their main news channel versus any of our channels, you can see that people are just far less likely to want to consume any one BBC video versus any one of ours. That's not because viewers haven't had the opportunity to discover the BBC and find out about the news they make. We all know about the BBC. It's because the audience is expressing a preference for one kind of content over another. There are also critics who worry about the potential censorship effect that decisions like this could have. Effectively, this could allow the government to intermediate these relationships and decide which news sources are sufficiently authoritative before forcing platforms to amplify them. This isn't to say that YouTube is perfect or that every creator on YouTube is perfect, but this proposal risks fundamentally undermining the ability of channels like ours to inform our audiences. If you, like us, feel that the current proposals are unfair to UK creators and want to have your...
Okay, so let's move on from that, as I think they're gonna go into a position, and I'm not from the UK. Straight American, bro. So let's get into something else. Let's get into this situation right here.
Long time no see. Back from DreamCon.
Again, from Omizi, a really good creator. Make sure you go subscribe to him.
I had a lot of conversations about Streamer University, my thoughts and my opinions on it. People were asking me, was the list rigged? Why didn't this person get in? Why didn't that person get in? And I pointed directly to the content that they were making and the other content creators who were experienced that did not get in were making. You see, Funny Mike got rejected and started doing a rap battle. EDG jumped in. Kai Cenat jumped in. She Loves Rod jumped in. And now Streamer University has its own record label. And while the more experienced creators were turning the rejection into...
Hold on. Run that back. Streamer University has his own record label? What are we on about?
Some sort of content. EDG jumped in. Kai Cenat jumped to the content that they were making and the other content creators who were experienced that did not get in were making. You see, Funny Mike got rejected and started doing a rap battle. EDG jumped in. Kai Cenat jumped in. She Loves Rod jumped in. And now Stream University has its own record label. And while the more experienced creators were turning the rejection into some sort of content, other streamers and content creators cried, quit, or acted like Kai Cenat had taken away their only chance at being some sort of success in the streaming industry.
Damn. Damn it. What is this? Bro, I'm screenshotting that. Hold up. What is this?
Everything for this. Everything that I've ever had in my life.
And see, my problem is not that.
You ever seen like an old mafia movie? That's what that looks like.
they got rejected. It's the fact that some of them already had the attention but never realized how to actually turn it into some sort of momentum. If you're new to this and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button.
Hey, if you're on my live stream, go ahead and what the fuck? Okay, my bad. But if you are on my live stream, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button too. Thank you.
Gonna go a long way for the channel. Be locked in with us for all the Stream University news, coverage, and just more nonsensical stuff that goes on the internet. Unemployed News Network, we up now. Back into the video. On the night of Kai Cenat's first stream, he rolled out that big board with a list of names of participants who would be a part of Streamer University. Now, remember, there were 1 million applicants for Streamer University, and only about 120 or something like that did get accepted. That will make Streamer University harder to get into than Harvard. Because all of the applicants, streamers, and content creators clamored around their computers looking to see if their name was going to be revealed on that board. There were going to be some people who did not get in. And what you did with that rejection really established, to my mind and other minds, who you were as a content creator. Those that had the lyrical ability took to the booth to place a diss track.
Hold up. Give me a second as I get this stuff going on. Right quick. Just give me a second as I had to put this on another thing. But it's alright, it's alright. Okay, we are in fact he did. Okay, let me go back here. Let's get started again.
Track on Kai Cenat. One that was very lighthearted, very serious, but most of all, very entertaining. They turned one rejection into several days worth of clips, content, and conversation. Now, we can recognize that the streamers that did get accepted were at the center of the storyline, but because they weren't at the center, these rejected creators decided to do the next best thing. Make adjacent content right next to it to still be a part of the conversation. The rap battle shows how experienced content creators extend a moment instead of allowing the attention to disappear.
Bro, y'all understand how lit that shit gonna be? Like, wait, I mean, it's impossible for you to understand because y'all didn't get in. But, bro, do you understand how lit that shit gonna be?
Bro, what am I watching? What is this?
Hey, man, nigga.
Me, as far as me, why I didn't get in, it's complete. It baffles me. It's just a clear indication of hatred, and it's mainly because his hair is ugly, and he's short.
Dang.
This is good. I love how you're opening up.
I'm nervous though.
It means a lot.
Okay.
Well, the difference was Suburb Baby and Ben the Don did skits. It's a different outcome, but it's the same mindset. These creators aren't waiting for the perfect result. They're taking whatever hand they are dealt, they're moving the cards around, and they're throwing out a royal flush, a go fish, whatever card terminology needs to be there, a tonk. That right there to me is the sign of a true creator. Being someone who has worked in the field myself and does videos on the regular, everything isn't going to be picture perfect all the time.
Never.
It's about how you can read and react and adapt and twist and turn, still make something that is entertaining, informational, has the potential to go viral. Now, while these creators turn the Streamer University announcement, good or bad, into some sort of content, the other streamers, they treated it like this was the only opportunity capable of saving their careers.
Bro, on God, this is why I don't talk to y'all in this community, bro. This is why I don't f this community, bro. This is why I don't f with y'all niggas, bro. 35,000.
Bro, why does he look so default? Like, I'm not, well, I am one to hate, if we're being honest. I'm most definitely one to hate. 100% one to hate. But, why does he look so default, though? He looks beyond default. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? He looks like a mannequin.
1,000 niggas watch me, bro, but not tuning into the Switch, bro. 1,000 niggas watching me, but ain't nobody dropping a sub, ain't nobody fucking showing love, bro. Y'all niggas steady be in my stream talking about some, why don't you express yourself? Why don't you talk about real shit, bro? Talk about.
I mean, damn. Damn. I have a lot of people that watch me, and they ain't even subscribed yet. They ain't even subscribed to me.
About this, talk about that. And when I talk about this, bro, y'all be trolling. Y'all dead ass be trolling me, bro, all the fucking time, bro. I'm tired, bro.
I mean, that's how the internet is, my brother. they constantly gonna be trolling you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. The moment it's on the internet, you shot your shot.
Community game. And Kai, you know they finna troll worse, bro. You know they finna. Oh, you ain't making it in the stream of you? Damn, this ain't making it in the Clover Boys, and he ain't making it in the stream of you. Damn, you ain't.
Damn. I mean, but like, you still got clout though. I don't even know who you are, but you're probably better than me.
Living in the mansion, bro. What happened? These kids don't fucking. God damn, bro. 10,000 subs every night, bro. How you get to a million fucking subs, bro? Come on, bro. You finna give me a chance to be me, bro. You finna get to know the real fucking me.
Now, let's be clear. I think being disappointed after being rejected into Streamer University is an okay emotion
Yeah.
to have. A lot of people invested time, effort, energy. It was a big deal for them. Hell, it is something that can actually make somebody's career. The
Most
way that Malik's
definitely.
World, aka NPC Miles Morales, went about doing his rejection moment, I don't know. Him going to the internet and honestly, from my opinion and other personal opinions, bashing Kai Cenat, it just didn't sit right. It wasn't the entertainment.
Hold up. I'm finna go get some Jolly Ranchers and refill my cup. I'll be back. Give me a second, BRB. Wait. What is good, people? I got me some milk. If you guys can see that, pretty fucking white. But also got me some Jolly Ranchers. My mom got the weirdest ones, so I kind of just only have that color. But it's whatever. Let's get back to it.
Spin of it all. I would be able to chalk it up if this was one interaction about the whole situation, but he doubles down at Dream Company. While there, he finds Agent 00, of course, close to Kai Cenat, and pressures him into being into Streamer U.
Tell Kai to put me in Streamer U, bro. Come on, bro.
Yo, I seen a clip of you.
Sorry. I'm at the school, bro. Come on. I don't want to shoot this school, bro.
You can't say shit like that.
I need this, bro. I need this, bro. I don't want to look for a job, bro. I've been looking for a 9-to-5 for a whole week, bro. I can't get a job, bro. Every time I look for a job, bro, they kick me out, bro.
Low key, that'd be me. Bro, that'd be me. like, you think you do well in an interview, and I'm like talking, telling them about my experience, which I have none. And then they just like do no follow up, no nothing. Sad. Oop. Hold it. There we go.
Dead ass.
You get kicked out of job?
Yes, bro. I've been trying to look for a job. Sinner, bro. Please, bro. Wallahi, bro. Why you just standing there, bro?
I don't know, gang. This just doesn't.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe it's because I'm younger, but I think it's low-key funny.
Sit right with me for a couple of different reasons. One, I saw a clip of NPC Miles Morales, and if I can find it, I'll put it in the video, of him saying that like he's torn between continuously wearing this costume and being NPC Miles Morales or being Malik's World, his actual stage name. As somebody who's having an identity / branding issue right now in this moment, I don't think that, you know,
I mean, fair, but I'm just yeetman. That's literally the worst name in history, but you know what? We rock with it.
to Agent and Kai and whoever else at DreamCon doing this begging thing is working in your best favor. This didn't feel skit-like at all. It didn't feel like it was a part of the bid. It just felt more desperate than anything. And then two, I think it's important to note that Kai Cenat had already put him in multiple streams. Hell, he was in Mafiathon crazy style.
I'll be honest with you, like, I'm not even trying to dick ride. Y'all can call me D1. Bro, he got the craziest layup ever. I don't think you getting accepted to Streamer University is a L, bro. I'll be honest with you. You had you literally were in his bed damn near for 30 days straight. Yo, you got more than streamer you. You got the whole streamer. You.
Very corny, but very funny and true sentiments, Ron. Streamer University is a week-long thing. Hell, even last year was just 3 days. You had him for 30 days of an entire marathon in which he actively wasn't on screen. Mind you, he only showed up when he was sleeping. NPC Miles Morales had a bigger stage than a lot of these people do with Streamer University, because we also have to remember, Kai Cenat won't be in Streamer University for real. He's ducked off to the side. The problem isn't lack of attention. It's what happened after the attention arrived. Malik's World.
Hey, bro. I mean, so you're telling me this, bro? I'm not really big into the streamer world or whatever, but you telling me he got a layup of the century and just didn't convert it? No points scored? No game won? What are we doing?
AKA NPC Miles Morales, or should I say BKA NPC Miles Morales, was inconsistent with streaming.
So Malik, why haven't you been consistent streaming recently? What you mean? I've been consistent. I'm looking at it right now.
Consistent with who?
I stream like 2 or 3 times a week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 streams since May 15th.
Damn. Honestly, I can't even say nothing. I've been working on my YouTube shit, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, what the fuck did I just press? There you go.
Okay.
Didn't fully capitalize on the audience when they were searching for him. He also pivoted crazy, and I do mean crazily sharply, after the whole Mafiathon. He wanted audience to stop viewing him for who he sold them on for the past 2 to 3 years. You gotta think about it. Strong creators usually use familiar characters to then, introduce their personality and themselves to a wider audience. Then they gradually give viewers a little bit more of a reason to stay. It's not what Malik's World did. He said, hey, I got you in the door for Spider-Man, but I'm gonna sell you on DC and other comic book characters. This is why his crash out and rejection felt more entitled than anything. He acted like Kai had denied him his first real opportunity when Kai had already provided him multiple platforms at different times. And instead of taking advantage and asking himself why he wasn't accepted, the better question should have been, hey, what have I already done with what I have received? And so while Funny Mike and DDG and Suburb Baby and Bendadon were getting their reactions to the rejection or the acceptance viewed and going viral for positive reasons, it's not the case for NPC Miles Morales. He did go viral again, but now everybody thinks that he's more of a clown, a Joker, instead of Spider-Man. And he's not the only one. He sits in a sea of other content creators and streamers who crashed out, sent these stupid, harsh messages to Kai Cenat and team and Stream University and all of this stuff. And I think that this shows the real difference between being seen and actually building something from being seen. Exposure can introduce an audience, but it can't make an audience stay.
If you don't get accepted, it doesn't mean anything. Brothers and sisters, if you do not get accepted, it is okay. You wanna know why it's okay? Because you are a person who loves to create. Nothing should define you. Nothing at all.
Look, I'm glad that he prefaced this, even though I don't think that he should have needed to, but Kai Cenat came during the Streaming University acceptance list and just put it plain and simple. Hey, if you don't get in, this will not define you. It shouldn't define you. And it ended up being a scorching hot take, seeing as to how some people went about reacting towards not getting into Streamer U. Some creators treated Streamer U like the end-all be-all because they believed the Kai Cenat cosign could replace consistency, direction, and good content. They viewed getting accepted as the beginning of their careers and getting rejected as the end of their careers. When Stream University was only supposed to be an acceleration moment for something that you were already—
Give me a second. Something happened with one of my live streams, and I gotta hurry up and get this right. Honestly, don't know why it turned off, but it's whatever. Let me see if it's— Is it working? Is it working? Give it a second. Give it a second. It might. Hold up.
already building. So when I canvass the landscape of streamers and content creators or streamers.
Oh. Oh, what up? Okay, it should be working. How about you just go there and we just go right there. Hmm. Give me a second. Oh, that's probably why. Huh. Well, gotta make sure I do this right because currently we're having some problems. That means I'm gonna have to give up one of my things. We can just disregard the vertical stream. It's whatever. Hopefully it goes back up. Where is? There we go. I mean, not the best. But oh, that's why. Okay. Why did it do that? That's a little bit annoying. It was because it was. Did I have my hotkeys on record? It shouldn't have been recording. Oh. Uh, honestly, I have no clue. Don't know why it was recording for whatever reason. Let me see. Did that help at all? Okay. And we're gonna do a little bit of dismissing here, but I figure it out later after the stream. This is still good. Huh. Okay, it should still be completely fine. I hope. And whatever. No? Huh. I wonder why that was. As it was completely fine earlier. But it's whatever. I figure it out later. We're just gonna be down to like YouTube and Twitch and not the vertical layout. That's sad though. If this, you're gonna have to bring that down. I whoops. Don't tell me it was. Oh. Well, wow. Okay. I'm a bit dumb, but it is what it is. Okay. Let's continue.
And content creators and their rejection letters. I was mad disappointed, just like the other already established streamers and content creators.
It's okay to let your emotions out, bro.
Oh,
I just want y'all niggas to know that, bro.
Oh no, bro. This is too much power for one man to have. Kai Cenat has got these people in a chokehold. Like, just stream. Just make good content. Make good content. You don't need
I
to
mean, fair, but I hope I make good content for you guys. For all, like, what, 2 of you?
me check from Kai Cenat, from Daddy Kai to make your career. This is incredible. What, you think you're not good enough without Kai Cenat's approval? Are you kidding me? This is insane.
If anybody quit because they didn't get into streamer university, they weren't a content creator to begin with. It's just God honest truth. Who the fuck is quitting because they didn't get in? Please let me know.
The mindset that your entire future rests in one content creator's hands is detrimental and only proves and solidifies, to be quite honest with you, why Kai Cenat did not pick you and why he should not pick you in the future. It's almost like these kids are waiting permission from somebody to build some sort of audience or some sort of consistency or something with substance, and that just doesn't make any sense. You don't need Kai Cenat to create momentum before, during, or after when these opportunities are here. Whether or not you get the big name, whether or not you get the shout out, whether or not you get the collaboration, you should be creating consistently because one, you love creating, and two, this is what you claim to be doing. Exposure can only introduce people to you. It can't make people return to your stream. It can't create consistency. It can't build this career for you. Look at all the people that we've been talking about in this video. Funny Mike received rejection and created momentum. DDG saw a storyline in his long career of streaming. Hey, I got rejected and just added another chapter. Suburb Baby received acceptance and has been on a tear since. But then you see somebody like a Malik's World got exposed to the game multiple times and struggled to convert it into anything real. Access isn't the difference, it's the execution that goes on after. And I rarely do ever tell people this. I'm so serious when I say this. I promise you I'll probably get burned for saying this now later on in my life. But if you're somebody who seriously quit or is just out of the content creation game or anything like that after this rejection from streamer you should stop. And part of it is me trying to be positive, saying stop waiting and stop wanting and stop yearning for somebody to come and hold your hand and boost you to the mountaintops. And the other portion is me saying stop creating content. You got to be real with yourself. Life is not a situation in which somebody will come and pluck you.
I mean, no, the crazy part is like, didn't Kai Cenat build this like by himself, and then people are like feel entitled to like be put on. Like the crazy part is like some people just have to like make it on their own, and then people after the fact feel entitled to like having that person that had to like trek on their own, reach that top on their own, and then have to bring everyone else with them. Like that's crazy.
You out of every single position and place in space, especially if you don't have these things already established. Steph Curry and the owner of the Golden State Warriors isn't just coming to a random gym and plucking the kid sitting on the bench to sign a max contract. Jay-Z and other experienced rappers aren't just walking down the street plucking people to sign them to multi-year record deals. And Kai Cenat isn't going to just pluck you off of the streets and say, hey, get into streamer university. I know you have nothing going on, and I know if I don't do this, you wouldn't be doing this. Just come to streamer university. It just doesn't work like that. Life does not work like that. The true creators, the ones that are going to stay on top, are going to take every single moment that they have and turn it into something positive.
Yeah, hold up, boys. Yeah, I kind of crashed. Oh, hey, man. How's it going? Thank you for commenting, but I was kind of going through a crash, my fault. But we back to it. How's it going? Anyways,
at
let's get
DreamCon
back
who
to
were
it.
accepted, going to other content creators, getting different advices, and things like that about, what to do when they get to Stream University. I saw some streamers and content creators who didn't get accepted into Stream University, who I thought that were rather small, found their way onto the DreamCon basketball court. Shouts out to streamer Double R Junkie. I think that he is, just continuing on and making content even though he got rejected. And then you also have the big guys that we've been talking about, the Funny Mikes of the world, the DDGs of the world, the Bendadons of the world, all these people. But I also saw people cry, people complain, people not entertain but wallow in it. And then I saw people quit as well. And for every Bendadon who created an entertaining skit, you have somebody like a Malik's World who turned this attention into an entitlement storyline. Somebody who had already been given major opportunities, introduced to millions of people through 2 different mafia-thons, and then still believed that he was entitled to even more exposure when he...
Okay, I mean, I'm gonna just say that, that sometimes if you have to wait for a person's approval to get your life started, then choose a different path. There ain't no way. Lock in. Even though I'm not really locked in, but it's whatever.
Mama, we made it! I'm in a Moist Critical video!
That is Gideon, losing his mind because his favorite YouTuber, Penguin Zero, aka Moist Critical, finally noticed him. This is that same YouTuber 8 weeks later watching Gideon get himself arrested.
It is just a real...
Oh yeah, I forgot. Bro, didn't he quit just our IRL streaming?
Really bad and embarrassing look. He made a clown of himself here. Which is upsetting and disappointing to see.
On the 22nd of June 2026, while live streaming, Gideon got himself and 3 members of his crew arrested outside a McDonald's in Woodhaven, Michigan. He was charged with 2 misdemeanors, breach of peace and stalking. When things seemed like they couldn't get any worse, the body cam footage dropped.
I am a multi-millionaire. I promise you, I can take this as...
What? What does you having to be a multi-millionaire do with anything? What does that have to do with, actually anything?
As far as you go on. Officer, you will be in a deposition and you will be arrested.
Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we're going to cover everything you need to know about the recent Gideon drama, along with everything important that led up to it. For some people, or if you're employed, this probably seemed to come out of completely nowhere. But if you've been paying attention, the signs that something like this was coming have been there for months. Gideon first blew up making prank videos in the early 2020s. He built his entire brand around getting kicked out of places. Similar to creators like Jack Doherty, he was the loud, unpredictable prank YouTuber who would push boundaries until security eventually stepped in. By the time he reached his peak, he had over 8 million subscribers, with individual videos pulling anywhere from 11 to more than 16 million views. Videos like getting a haircut at the US Open, giving strangers massages at the mall, and plenty more followed the same formula. In January 2022,
I'm not gonna lie, giving strangers a massage in the middle of a mall when you don't have a place is kind of crazy.
Was permanently banned from Twitch, following what was described as a hate raid targeting streamer Pokimane. The situation started after he told her viewers that she wasn't going to sleep with them, then encouraged his
Yes, my sister. You want me to open? You can open that yourself. Where's your man? Hi.
Audience to spam L plus ratio in her chat. At first, Twitch only suspended him for 14 days, but after the incident gained widespread media attention, the ban was made permanent. Ironically, the drama didn't last long.
You know what the funny thing is? Twitch would like actually permanently ban him, but not like actual predators and like, you know, sexual assault people on their platform. That's the crazy part.
Gideon eventually reached out to Pokimane behind the scenes, and the two of them later filmed a mukbang together, effectively putting the situation.
Hold up. That's a lot of Chick-fil-A. But I couldn't get any. That's
To
crazy.
rest. That became a recurring pattern throughout his career. Whenever he found himself in public drama, he would often contact the other person privately, and more often than not, the conflict would end there. That same pattern showed up again after his Twitch ban. Gideon snuck into a Twitch event with the goal of getting a picture with Tommy in it, and he actually pulled it off.
Huh? You know, okay, call me crazy, but like, I actually don't remember who Tommy Innit is. Like, I know I should know the name. I honestly should know the name. Who is it? Tommy. What does he do? Okay, I know that meme. Oh shit. But yeah, I don't really know what he does. Like, I'm pretty sure I watched him before, but still, no clue.
However, Tommy wasn't happy about it, and neither was Twitch. But after Gideon reached out behind the scenes, the issue seemed to quietly disappear. In July 2023, the NBA banned Gideon from league events after he pretended to fall asleep during a WNBA game as part of a prank.
That's actually crazy. He just like don't get me wrong, I wouldn't personally go to a WNBA game unless like unless they're actually good, okay? Like they're NBA players. They're probably better than me, no doubt about it. But again, I want to see the best. But falling asleep at a game you paid for is crazy.
2023 would become one of the biggest years of Gideon's career because it marked the release of his first major predator catching video. It exploded, racking up 26.9 million views, and to this day, it remains the most viewed video on his channel. Later that fall, he had another massive hit when he confronted EDP445 in a second predator sting.
They got that ice cream outfit. What? I just want a cupcake.
Video became iconic, partly because Gideon showed up wearing a cupcake costume, but it also proved something much bigger. He no longer had to rely on prank videos to pull massive numbers. Eventually, Gideon announced that he wanted to turn over a new leaf and dedicate himself to Christianity instead of continuing the kind.
Okay, this is going to sound like hateful, but I don't mean it that way. But like, why does every like person when they like start coming up or like start getting big or something, turn themselves to Christianity and then do some fuck shit? Like you really cannot like you can't really explain it. Like they either go like they either become like is like part of Islam, Jewish, or Christian. Like don't get me wrong, I believe in God. I do believe in God. Okay, but like after you become big, get into a little bit of controversy, then you just become Christian, huh? I mean that doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, I think I'm back. Give me a second. Oh, there's nothing here. Okay, so I kind of finally found the reason to my problem. And that's because, like, when I do my replay buffer and stuff, um, well, the thing that happens is it starts recording and then does the replay buffer thing. But I kind of stopped the recording before I actually just, you know, get the replay. And that kind of breaks my OBS. So we're just going to be moving on.
Of content he had built his career on. He later explained that after talking with some of his friends, he genuinely believed the path he was on was leading him to hell. Because of that, he wanted to change his life and become someone who openly lived out his faith. About a month later, he followed through by deleting all of his prank videos. He said he was ashamed of that era of his channel because, in his view, it spread negativity instead of positivity. Honestly, that's a fair criticism. Most of his old content revolved around inconveniencing random people in public for entertainment. So seeing him distance himself from that was a welcome change for a lot of viewers. He even created a separate channel dedicated to Christian content, posting banger videos such as Don't Bust, Overcome Lust, and proof that dinosaurs.
Excuse me? Don't bust, overcome lust, huh? Proof that dinosaurs are in the butt. You know what? As long as he's happy, I'm happy.
Are in the Bible. Unfortunately for him, this channel was not nearly as popular as his main content, and he has since abandoned it, likely due to low view count. Around the time of his rebrand, Gideon had already been streaming regularly and posting reaction clips on his second channel. This was alongside his major push into the PDF catching world. So he launched a series called EDP Watch, collaborating closely with fellow predator catchers Alex Rosen and Skeeter Jean. There are
Aren't those like two just racist people? Like, correct me if I am wrong, but these are like just like two races.
Approach followed a fairly consistent formula. They used decoy accounts to communicate with suspected predators, coordinated with law enforcement whenever possible, and documented the confrontations from their own perspective. Unlike many creators in the space who simply chase viral moments, and sometimes even use it as an excuse to promote gambling sites like Stake, several of Gideon's investigations resulted in real arrests and, in some cases, criminal convictions. One of the biggest examples came in December 2025. A decoy working with Gideon's second channel communicated with Brian Brown, who believed he was talking to an 11-year-old. The video quickly went viral, earning nearly 3 million views. Brian was later arrested by the Marshalltown, Iowa Police Department.
Hold up. Like, guys, I don't I don't mean to like actually judge a book by its cover, right? Like, I really don't mean to do that. But can someone please explain to me how you didn't think that was a predator? You couldn't have told me that person that looks like that also liked children. Like, again, I don't mean to be rude here, but based off of his whatever that is, I could have told you the same thing. I could have told you the same thing.
And in June 2025, pleaded guilty to a felony charge of sexual grooming. Gideon's predator catching era established him as one of the more recognizable creators in that niche, and it also led to a close friendship with Alex.
Okay, my bad, people. I keep on having this like exact like problem for some reason. Ugh. But it's whatever. We're gonna get it soon. Because I keep on having this problem. For some reason. I guess I'm just gonna have to change whatever. Give me my settings, please. Never mind. It doesn't want to do my settings, okay. I didn't want them either. Huh. Guess we're gonna have to deal with it, but it's whatever. We are gonna continue even though this keeps on happening. For some reason or another. Anyways, let's get to it.
Of edgy-leaning humor, something Gideon later admitted he knew from the beginning. There's even a category on his Wikipedia page titled Use of Racial Slurs. The relationship finally collapsed after Alex publicly supported Chud the Builder. Chud was a streamer jailed on a
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. Chud the Builder is like actually such a little bitch. Like, I'm sorry, but like he really is actually such a bitch.
attempted murder charges after allegedly targeting black people, yet Alex donated $10,000.
Allegedly. That word is doing a whole lot. Allegedly.
Towards his bond and later pledged another $100,000 during a court hearing. On the 4th of June 2026, Gideon released a video titled This Is the End, publicly distancing himself from Alex. In the video, he said,
Alex was on Twitter talking about how he supports Chud the Builder, things of that nature. But then he did something even a step beyond. He went and donated $10,000 to Chud the Builder's bond so that he can be back free on the street. And I just cannot tolerate that, and I do not respect that, and I have to make a stand.
A few months before Gideon publicly split from Alex Rosen, another one of his close friends, Skeeter Jean, had been uploading a series about his uncle, Joe. According to Skeeter, Joe had allegedly been physically abusive towards his grandmother and had a long history of violence within the family. The series goes into much more detail, but the basic story is that Joe had been illegally squatting in Skeeter's grandmother's house. After months of legal proceedings, Skeeter was finally able to get permission to evict him. That was when Gideon and Skeeter came up with the idea for a collaboration. The plan was simple. Gideon would livestream while Skeeter confronted Uncle Joe, all with the goal of annoying him enough that he would leave the house for good. At first, everything seemed to go according to plan. Gideon blasted music throughout the house, while Uncle Joe became increasingly frustrated, repeatedly trying to call the police.
What do you want, man? What the do you want?
God damn it. What is that? Bro, say don't spray. What? That's like 40 beers in. Rewind that.
Music throughout the house, while Uncle Joe became increasingly frustrated, repeatedly trying to call the police.
What do you want, man? What the do you want?
Damn, that's nasty.
What's going on? I have the police over here. Get away from me. I'm going to my room. Get away from me. Man, go to his room. No, he can't. Get out of here. Don't bother me. We don't want anything from you. We're just going to my room. Bro, we're not like Skeeter, man. We're not here to ball.
Eventually, Joe gave up and left the property, and that should have been the end of the stream. Mission accomplished, everyone goes home. Instead, Gideon kept pushing. Leaving the house apparently wasn't enough. He wanted to keep provoking Joe in hopes of getting an even crazier reaction on camera. So rather than ending the stream on a successful eviction, Gideon, Skeeter, and eventually a growing crowd of viewers began following Uncle Joe around town, annoying local businesses, all while TTS was blasting.
Joe, I know you're back here. Joe. You don't know Joe? Joe. Joe Mama.
Can I get a turkey tom?
Turkey Tom?
You want
Please?
Yeah, please.
Get him that. I want that.
Okay. What are we doing here? Like, what? We lost the plot. After bro left the house, we lost the plot.
As they walked, several fans stream-sniped Gideon by showing up on bicycles. Rather than telling them to leave, Gideon pointed them towards where Uncle Joe was headed, and before long, the crowd followed him all the way to a McDonald's. Eventually, the crowd of fans got so large around this McDonald's that the management was forced to call the police. When officers arrived, they trespassed Gideon, Skeeter, and the crowd from the restaurant, rather than removing Uncle Joe. Hearing that, Gideon came up with what might have been the worst idea of the entire stream. If I can't go in there, surely my fans can. He handed his camera equipment to a random fan and told him to go inside the McDonald's to continue filming.
Should we give him the camera? He's just sitting in there?
He's sitting in the corner, yeah.
Here. Did he bang you?
Yeah.
Here.
He's banning you guys corner?
Yeah. Do this. Do me a favor. Okay, here.
What?
Be very careful. Just wear this.
Which way?
Just on your back. Where does the backpack? You didn't trespass him, so shut the fuck up!
The fan barely made it to the door before officers stepped in and stopped him. Moments later, Gideon was placed under arrest. In total, 4 people were arrested on charges including breach of peace and stalking. A post on Gideon's YouTube community page called on supporters to attend a peaceful protest outside the Woodhaven Community Center the following day. Fans were encouraged to wear white shirts as the Free Gideon slogan spread across social media after clips of the arrest went viral. During a live stream of his court appearance on June 23rd, it was revealed that Gideon's bond was set at $10,000 before he was released pending his next court date. The protest itself ended up drawing fans to the police precinct, although it wasn't entirely clear what they were hoping to accomplish. The incident quickly drew criticism from commentary creators, including a creator named Bloodspeth. His biggest criticism wasn't necessarily that Gideon had gotten himself arrested. It was that he had encouraged a largely teenage audience to follow and harass someone who had already been described as violent. If Uncle Joe had actually attacked...
Okay, that's actually fair. No, that's 100% fair.
To one of those fans, Gideon would have shared the responsibility for directing them towards that situation. Thankfully, nothing like that happened.
If you have children, try and imagine them at that age going out and searching for a violent criminal because a YouTuber thought it was funny. And if you don't have kids, imagine any kind of loved one around that age in that position. As a popular and influential figure, it is Gideon's responsibility to make the right decisions, not the kids.
I mean, yeah, okay. I do believe that. But you can only take that, like, as a public figure so far. But in this situation, yeah, 100%.
First, Gideon didn't seem to think he had done anything wrong. During his own live stream reacting to the arrest, he even claimed he planned to sue the Woodhaven Police Department and the officer who arrested him once the case was over. That confidence disappeared on July 1st, when YouTube channel Code Blue Cam uploaded the police body cam footage. For the first time,
okay.
Everyone could see exactly what had happened from the officer's perspective, and it made Gideon look far worse than the original livestream ever did. The footage showed him loudly urging his fans to take his camera into the McDonald's after police had already ordered him to stay out. Not only that, but the bodycam footage released an extended cut of Gideon screaming that he was a multi-millionaire, something that had originally been heard from the livestream, but now that there was footage of him actually getting arrested, it made it look much worse.
I am a multi-millionaire. I promise you, I can take this as far as you want. Officer, you will be in a deposition.
This is horrible. Yeah, okay.
And you will be arrested. This is...
Here, back here.
No! Call Jake and have him get my lawyer. Call Jake and get my lawyer.
Is this really the route you want to go, officer? Yep. Okay. Do you want to waste taxpayer dollars? Yep. Officer, can I ask you a question? No. Can I please sit? Do you really want to abuse me, officer? Get your foot in. I can't even fit in here. Get your foot in. Officer, I can't even fit in here. Get your foot in. How are you going to arrest somebody that never even went on the property?
Nearly every comment on this video focused on how embarrassing the entire situation looked. Ironically, Gideon even live-streamed himself reacting to the body cam footage. He seemed to believe that, regardless of the criticism, the situation had still produced great content, and he didn't look that bad. The internet didn't see it that way, and public opinion shifted almost overnight. People weren't upset that Gideon got arrested. They were upset that he appeared willing to put his own fans in harm's way just to squeeze a few more viral clips out of the stream. The backlash spread quickly, eventually reaching creators like Critical, who tore into the bodycam footage live on stream on July 5th. I think that's the moment Gideon realized how badly he had misread the situation. The next day, he deleted his reaction streams to the bodycam footage and uploaded a 16-minute video titled I Quit. In it, Gideon says live streaming had pulled him away from the Christian values he wanted to live by. He announced that he was done with live streaming and wanted to focus instead on predator-catching content, rather than creating public disturbances for entertainment. But if he was hoping to get ahead of the story, he was already too late. Barely 20 minutes after the I Quit video went live, Critical dropped his own 30-minute video covering the situation, and what had been streamer drama went fully mainstream, pulling in almost 5 million viewers within the first 48 hours.
Like, you very clearly went over the line here when it came to this squatting situation, following him around, and then routinely going into that McDonald's, trying to film it, sending an army of kids in there to also do your bidding as well. The employees didn't want you in there doing that either. Like, the actual workers that are just there trying to make a living, now getting, you know, forced into this content to be fucking props, NPCs for this content here, where you've gone way outside the scope of, like, trying to get a squatter out of a residence. Like, it's just, there's no bias here. Like, they did what they were supposed to do.
As for Gideon's statement, it didn't land particularly well either. It felt like a video he had made in the heat of the moment, rather than something he had really thought through, and the comments reflected that almost immediately. Throughout the video, Gideon says the word genuinely more than 20 times, and most of the top comments are making fun of him for that fact alone.
Genuinely.
That's fucked up. What? 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 Okay.
Genuinely.
As of writing this, the situation is still ongoing.
Bruh.
So it's hard to say where Gideon will end up when the dust finally settles. But I don't think this is going to be the type of incident that will necessarily kill his career, provided he of course doesn't dig himself deeper. That being said, it does seem to have, at least for now, left a pretty bad mark on his reputation. If you take a quick look at the comment section on any of his latest videos, or even videos from his collaborators, you will quickly notice hundreds of comments making fun of his multi-millionaire comments, as well as his overuse of the word genuinely. Bro genuinely tried seducing a multi-millionaire. Bro clearly didn't know that you were genuinely a multi-millionaire. Thanks, Jid, for being a genuine multi-millionaire. You rarely see it. You're the most genuine. Keep catching and locking these preds up. Since posting the I Quit video, Gideon has uploaded 2 separate full-length Predator Catch videos within 3 days of each other, which could be his strategy of moving on from and overcoming the controversy, or it's just a coincidence. Personally, whilst I do think Gideon is overall a good person and means well, I don't think he would have responded the way he eventually did if it wasn't for the fact public opinion was quickly shifting against him the more the situation blew up. The only things that seemed to change between him claiming that he was going to sue the police department, that his rights were violated, and debating small commentary channels who criticized him, to privating his videos, apologizing for his behavior, and wanting to collaborate with the police department, was the situation going viral and the internet turning against him. Commentary YouTubers such as Samuel have created videos labeling Gideon's response as quote performative, and mentioning the fact that he does predator catching videos doesn't automatically mean he can't be criticized or judged, which is a pretty valid take. A strange pattern I've noticed across this entire drama from Gideon's side is how he seems to be constantly testing the waters of just how far he can push things. His initial response to the commentary video calling him out for his original stream before the body cam footage had even gone live was to hop on stream, act like he did nothing wrong, and then debate the YouTuber who called him out. Upon getting some pushback on that video, he deleted it. Then, when the body cam footage released, he reacted to that on stream as well, pushed back on the comments
not gonna lie, he's deleting a whole lot of stuff
being made against him and published a VOD where he was defending himself. Sure enough, after there was some pushback in the comments section, he deleted that too. Making this video was actually kind of difficult because of the fact that Gideon seems to post something, get a negative response from his audience, and then instantly remove it, rather than just updating the description, pinned comment, or directly addressing that upload with an update. There is something about that feels evasive, and more like damage control than a genuine response. There comes a time with almost every IRL streamer when they get lost in the sauce, and can only think in terms of views and clip farming.
I mean, this is why I could probably never be an IRL streamer. Like real life is way different from the internet. I don't want to cross those two.
This is the phenomenon that I think occurred with Gideon, as he made several impulsive decisions without really thinking about them. Do I think he maliciously involved his fans or tried to get people arrested? No. Do I think that in the heat of the moment he made a very bad judgment call because the inherent format of IRL streaming incentivizing doing the most obnoxious thing ever 24/7? Yeah, pretty much. If he is true to his word, hopefully he can learn from this extremely terrible fumble and focus on the type of content that, as he puts it, brings him closer to Christ, as endangering your own audience.
Yeah, fair. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a like on that video. Let's get to the other one. Okay, this one is gonna be horrible. I can't believe Arkash's wife said this. Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. Arkash is like having like a generational downfall. I mean, not exactly, but the way his wife is doing things, I would have divorced her instantly. I don't care about the culture or like the religion around it. Would have been
this
divorced.
wife, this same wife right here who said this on a podcast.
Did y'all ever have an orgy together with your husbands? Rhea, I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so good looking, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. No, I kind of love it, but
Bro, go ahead and throw it away. Go ahead and like throw it away. Send like you cannot fix this. This is unfixable here, people. 100% unfixable. Actually, bro, throw the entire home away. Like, what?
like us for it? Okay, maybe. I just know that Nav's is like at least 10 inches.
Who then put her husband through hell.
Ooh, okay. What a wife.
Hell is still going. We can't run away from the Akash Singh situation with his wife. Now Jaslyn Singh has finally come out and explained what she and Akash have apparently been going through behind closed doors. According to her, they escaped a toxic environment, fake friends, online harassment that felt like digital SA. But she continues leaving out one major detail of it all. She was the person who brought all of these private and intimate conversations about their marriage to the internet. Yeah. I did say digital essay. It doesn't make any sense. If you're new to this and you haven't already, please hit that.
You see that? You see that? Go ahead and hit that
subscribe button. Long way
please.
for the channel. I don't even have something quippy here. This is just the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen in my life. Now, back into the video. I have never wanted to leave a group chat faster than I've wanted to leave the Akash Singh and Jaslyn Singh group chat. Partially because they keep threatening their friends in the group chat with a threesome, which I think is really, really weird. I feel like I should be giving Akash this chair here. But also because it keeps
the cuck chair
getting worse for somebody who could have avoided this situation. And we've recapped and talked about the whole situation in its entirety, how picking the right partner can be detrimental to your career. But Akash Singh's wife is giving us a hold my beer moment every single chance that she gets. Just recently, fans asked Jaslyn Singh, Akash Singh's wife, about all of the things that she has been experiencing behind closed doors when it comes to the whole situation that has been happening for the past year now. She says, and I quote, "I really try to remember that everything works out the way it's supposed to. Rejection is redirection. Of course, it's easier said than done when people were digitally SAing me and continue to do so. But that experience made me and my husband."
What does that mean exactly? What does that mean?
And so much stronger, showed us who our real friends are, and made us see fame more clearly. I think sometimes the bad things that happen to you end up giving perspective. I kind of had
I mean, what if she's the bad thing here?
to pause recording this video to figure out what any of that even meant. Digital essay is a new word for me, and Elmo can't handle big words like that. So I went ahead and did a Google search. Couldn't find much on it, but tried to piece together what I know of it all. Now, for the record, she doesn't necessarily name the Flagrant podcast as a toxic environment, but when you line it up with Akash's departure, it appears likely that she was referencing that specifically. She doesn't necessarily talk about the fake friends in depth either, but maybe he was referring to Schultz and the boys. I don't know, but that claim of the digital SA, she's talking about how these edits, these comments, these commentary videos all depicted her in some sort of fashion, and you know, they might have said the wrong things about her, maybe made some leaps and bounds and stuff like that. I'm trying really hard to stay in the middle for a second so I can, elaborate as to what's going on here. But yeah, she does kind of allude to the fact that some of these things that were said on the internet actually did impact her. However, I do believe that Jaslyn is combining the harassment, the criticism, the jokes and conflict with the cast into one larger attack from the Flagrant environment. And by framing it this way, it makes it seem as though Flagrant is responsible for all of the stress that her and Akash had experienced over the past couple years. The audience becomes toxic, the people around Akash become fake friends, and Jaslyn.
Honestly, okay, I'm gonna say this: the Flagrant podcasts are like actually just a group of assholes. Like, there's not much to say around it. They are assholes. But she is a bigger asshole as she just kept on dragging this man through the mud.
Becomes someone who is simply attacked for no reason. But what we're missing and failing to acknowledge, which we were all here for, is that none of this, and I do mean none of this, would have existed if she would have never started any of these conversations on her entrance to the podcasting realm.
Went to college from 2011 to 2016. I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through.
Thought it was
Go ahead and throw her away. Get rid of her. I couldn't. I promise you, I would have crashed out then and there. I don't condone crashing out, right? But when I tell you, the moment I saw this from my wife, I'm not even taking the home. She can have whatever she wants. I'm getting a divorce and moving out of country. I'm moving nations. You're gonna see me in like Lebanon or like Dagestan. You're gonna see me in the most like craziest places. I'm gonna be moving to Iceland or like what, Kazakhstan.
just like dancing,
Completely
getting
nowhere.
dressed up, and maybe that was my mistake.
Like I'm converting to like a religion. I'm doing subsistence farming and living off the grid. The moment I hear that, gone.
day.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge that.
Look at this. Big one.
Yeah, the act of getting dressed up, looking what I want.
You can have a roster of frat boys.
But
What does a roster mean?
so it didn't actually translate to a roster. It just meant like 2 guys I was talking to and flirting with at the same time. That's it.
For the record, Akash didn't have Jasleen on any podcast. She wasn't popular on social media. She didn't really have anything going on in the social media aspect before any of these instances. And her first appearances were her divulging information that I don't even want to say a lot of people took out of context, but was private and intimate, and they were details about their marriage that shouldn't have been out there, especially because Akash had been spending years, and I do mean years, painting her to be some sort of uber virtuous, picture perfect wife. And I've broken down the reasons why he may have done so in previous videos, maybe to pedestalize himself so then he can criticize other relationship conversations on the internet. And
You know, okay, listen, you should not. How do I explain this? You should not have to pedestal your relationship to be able to criticize other people's relationships. Like, either your relationship is good for you or it's not. And whether you judge other people's relationship, that's on you. But as long as they're happy, then who cares? And Akashi, honestly, Akashi doesn't look happy.
I've talked about what happens when you harp on, those things in your life and how you have to then become picture perfect in the eye of the beholder. But that's not.
Honestly, guys, I'm never gonna become picture perfect for anyone, and I'm sorry to say this. I just don't care to. Like, you know how, like, sure, I maintain my appearance and stuff like that, but like, perfect. You know how like stressful and like how like insane that has to be on a daily basis. Like, bro, I just disappear. I couldn't do it.
What's important right now? What's important right now is her acting as if we weren't there for all of that. And I can't acknowledge that maybe the internet did cross the line. Maybe people did go too far, but we can't.
I mean, yeah, but it's the internet. People go far all the time. What's the point? You already know people are gonna take your 1-inch pause and then convert it into a mile. Like, you should have known this should have happened. This would have happened regardless.
Act as though she didn't put it out there first. She didn't come aggressively with this stuff. I don't even think some of these things were jokes personally, if you are asking me. And instead of acknowledging
all of them cannot be just jokes, because that's crazy.
Her role in any of this, saying that, hey, maybe I shouldn't have did this, maybe I shouldn't have did that, etc., etc. She appears to be blaming the environment around her, surrounding Akash, which you kind of know what type of work your man is into. Calling the response digital essay also makes accountability much harder to discuss, because anyone questioning her decision can be dismissed as somebody that's attacking some sort of victim.
My question, because
honestly, if we're being honest, you being a victim does not make you excusable from the part you play into the situation. Even though that sounds harsh, it does and probably is harsh, but you still can be questioned victim or not.
I've never gotten to ask somebody who was really on the receiving end of the internet to that scale.
Yeah.
Like you were. How did you feel? Like it was like a slow burn, but it really wasn't. It was like a firestorm. Like I had people hitting me, being like, yo, what do you think?
I remember because you asked me this question, like, what is it like to look at like think pieces and people analyzing your marriage and your personality? It feels weird and it feels surreal because you're,
bro, you just like, you gave up the ball and like shot it for a layup. Like this was 100% on you. Like you put it out there.
Like, but you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. You've never talked.
No one cares to know you. They know the situation you're a part of.
Talk to me. Like you're taking the intention of this video and the complete
wrong way.
And
Is
she
there
may
a
be
right
right.
way?
They don't know you and your relationship from you and the inner workings of it, but your husband spent years talking about the relationship on the podcast and the platform. And so now you want Flagrant to accept all this responsibility for how everything affected you while taking very little responsibility and accountability for how your comments may have affected Akash. And so once Jasleen describes Flagrant as a toxic environment filled with fake friends, Akash's explanation for leaving the platform becomes much harder to accept at face value.
We got to address the elephant in the room, no pun intended, okay? As I'm sure you guys are aware, our boy Akash, he really went through it earlier this year, showed amazing resilience and, you know, selling out Radio City recently, setting records in Toronto, just crushing stand-up around the globe, and literally just like living the dreams that he would tell me about at 2 a.m. when we're eating fucking egg sandwiches at Veselka. So it's been amazing to see, but the
I
experience...
know what? He's also not like he's kind of a snake, okay? Like he's kind of an asshole that uses people.
Just put things in perspective for him. And he has made the decision to focus all of his energy on stand-up. He is going to be stepping away from the pod. It is bittersweet. You know, we wish that he did not want to do that. But at the same time, you know, it's very hard not to root for your friend, you know, literally living his dreams. And if he feels he's got to give everything to that, then that's exactly what he's got to do. And we're going to rock with him. We hope you guys continue to rock with him.
After
Then
9
he
years
unfollowed
of
him,
being a
I'm
part
pretty
of
sure.
the Flagrant podcast, Akash decided to part ways to focus on his stand-up career. Now, I'm not going to rehash how funny it sounded at the moment, but I understand, hey, sometimes you do move on to greener pastures, bigger and better things, or whatever the case may be. So that's not what I'm worried about. What really stuck out to me, though, is the fact that he didn't have some sort of final episode. You know when you break up with your significant other and y'all have one last time in the bed? Yeah, Akash never had that. And if this was supposed to end on this amicable situation or way or whatever, you would expect that to happen. The only times that you don't get that finality of it all is usually when there's some sort of toxic thing involved. And hell, that's also not acknowledging that if maybe he wanted to focus on his stand-up, maybe he misses an episode or two here or there. It was probably a way to work this out if that was the only issue. But so now we're getting more realistic information as to why Akash seemingly abruptly left the Flagrant podcast. And it's looking like Jasleen is answering for him again, saying things again, putting information out there again that we didn't need.
To make matters worse, Jasleen took to social media to gloat about the split. When a fan directly asked her if Andrew and Akash were still on good terms, she posted a smug, condescending movie clip to confirm that the friendship is completely dead. She's out here playing the ultimate victim, claiming she was digitally violated just because media platforms covered the public statements she chose to make.
Here we go again. Another wife getting in between the business of her husband, putting her...
Like, bro, I honestly don't know what to say because I feel like I already made my statements. I just hope this doesn't happen to me, you know? But if it does, I'll probably just end up cutting it off, like, quickly.
2 cents in there and making the situation more awkward and more difficult. We know that Akash and Andrew no longer follow each other. The Instagram post also shows how she personally viewed the relationship in Akash and Andrew and the Flagrant environment as well. And then she continues on in the video and doesn't make it any better by painting the environment and the podcast space specifically that he's in to be racist and right-wing, making a clear distinction between that fan base and the fan base that goes to his comedy shows.
I know the periphery of Akash's fan base, which is, I will say, more of the podcast fan base. And I know a lot of people during like our controversy were saying like, oh, it's because of his fans. It's because of his fans. Like his comedy fans are not like that. It's more the podcast fan base that I don't think really resonate with him because a lot of them are like really racist and right wing. I think like those of them.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe, but also you brought this on to yourself, if we're being honest.
Them are more like that. But yeah, anyways, I said like those peripheral fans, like they might come at us just because we're brown girls being opinionated and they don't like opinionated.
Brown is a stretch, but okay.
women.
You know what's so funny? I hate when people do this thing where are in some sort of a breakup or in some sort of situation and they talk bad about this thing that they've lived in for so long. All of a sudden, Akash's fan base on the podcast is racist and they're right wing. It's a bad environment and all this stuff, as if it just got like that, right? This podcast has always been the same. These people have always made these jokes, all these different things. If you felt this way before, why is it all of a sudden that it's a problem? I just never get it. So now it seems as though that Akash was putting a rock in a hard place. Hey, if you do go back to that podcast, there will be some tension in your marriage. And that old adage of happy wife, happy life, I don't know. Every episode could have looked like a...
Okay, I kind of don't like that saying. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's my life, and if I choose to live it happily with a wife or not, then that's on me.
Akash choosing the people Jasleen blamed over his wife. So that's why he chose stand up as the explanation. It gave some sort of easy, respectable way out that avoided exposing whatever conflicts existed behind the scenes. It may be a genuine career goal, I have no doubts about it, but it also provided a convenient reasoning to leave without admitting that his wife wanted the distance from the entire flagrant ecosystem. And the more that Jasleen speaks, the more it sounds like Akash was not merely moving towards stand up. He's moving away from a situation that his wife decided was damaging their lives. But the biggest problem isn't that Akash listened to his wife. We all listen to our wives-ish. It's that Jasleen appears to avoid accountability while Akash continues to absorb the consequences.
Is it just me, or is the idea of asking a girl to sign a prenup incredibly offensive? And only...
No, not really, but my mom thinks it is. I
one
mean,
way. Like, if I...
like, if you're gonna ruin a relationship, then you should have bad consequences to bear for it.
someone to sign a prenup because I had some like booming business, then I would be like, yeah, can you just sign this prenup because like I don't want to like lose all my money. But then like if a guy...
Like, again, it depends on like when you guys met each other. Like, if you guys started out at the beginning and then built things and then asking for a prenup, then that's crazy. Okay, that's 100% foul. But if you're like already rich and already built something, and then suddenly, happily, a girl comes into your life, then I'm thinking like a prenup isn't even that bad. Because let's not forget about the women who actively take from their husbands like paychecks or like combined joint account and starts putting it into their own name and their own account. And then when I asked my mom about that part, it was like, well, you have to protect yourself and you have to make sure you have something to fall back on. Right? But a marriage is no different. Like, a prenup is no different from protecting the stuff that you already have in the marriage. I guess one rule for me and one rule from them.
I asked you to sign a prenup, I would be like, I would call off the wedding. Like, I would literally call off the wedding.
Honestly,
Don't blame the brown girls for going to white men. Blame yourself and your friends for being trash options. These are like three kind of...
I'm gonna be honest with you. The moment she calls me a trash option is the moment I'm gonna start celebrating. Like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna speak on this for a little bit. Give me a second. Because this like actually just irks me. Not what she said, but like the men that complain about not getting picked or not being in a woman's standards. Like they just piss me off, okay? Now let's think here. Like, why does it bother you so bad that you're not in a set person's preferences? If they don't want you, they don't want you. Okay? Why would you want someone that doesn't want you? And no, what's crazier is like they would start getting mad at women or like at other people because they're outside their dating preferences. Like, don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm short. Like, very short. But if women do not want me because I'm short, then I don't want them. And if you call me a bad option because I'm short, then why would I want to be with you in the first place? It makes no sense. It makes 100% no sense. Why would you put yourself in that sort of situation? And then speaking on furthermore, if someone calls you a bad option, then just let it. Why does it bother you so much that people do not want to date you? As long as you're still living and still like going through life and still happy, then why does it matter if people do not want to pick you for a relationship? Let's let's not forget about the fact that you don't really care about, like, you were completely fine not being in a relationship until someone said that they didn't want to pick you for the relationship. Now you have to prove yourself to them. I wouldn't do that. I honestly would not do that. But you couldn't get me to do that. But let's move on. Let's go on. Hold up.
Of surefire ways to know if you're trash. So number one, if you consistently prioritize your mom over your girl, telltale sign. Number two, if you think she's
Excuse me? I will always like, yes, I will always most likely prefer my mom over my girl. What? I would always put my mom like first behind my girl. Unless she's my wife and we have kids, then maybe.
nagging or being annoying or she's being clingy when really she just wants like emotional validation and maybe just wants some quality time where you're not like glued to your phone. Number three, I think this one is a
My time is what I want to do with it. That's all I was saying.
little bit iffy, but like if you listen to Punjabi music but you're not Punjabi and you call your friends the N-word and you smoke a lot in the car and you drive really fast, you know what I mean? It gives that vibe of trash. Now that's like could be more
What? Huh? What am I supposed to get from that?
of a in between.
Let me get this straight. I don't think that there's any problem with Akash, defending and protecting his wife when it comes to some of the criticism.
Yeah, but honestly, he protected his wife more than JD Vance ever protected his own wife. That's crazy to say, but it's true.
Online culture and community is way too far, and him stepping in because
Yeah, but we already
the
knew
community
this.
is saying X, Y, and Z, LMNOP people are
Like, posting online a bad situation about your family, and then people are like taking it like a mile. It's like going into a radioactive zone that has signs that says it's radioactive, then dying to radiation and complaining. What are we doing?
taking things out of control. I think that that is perfectly fine and dandy, and it's what he should do. The issue is that protecting Jasleen appears to require Akash to repeatedly absorb consequences created by her decisions and her actions.
Yep.
While Akash did paint this picture of who Jasleen was behind closed doors, it was Jasleen who publicly discussed their private relationships with her friends, her own personal life, all these different things. And ultimately, Akash became the punchline. Jasleen blamed the audience and the environment, and Akash eventually left the platform connected to both. And for what it's worth, she still doesn't understand exactly what's going on. She's trying to skate under the guise of comedic relief and comedic timing. And all
she's
these
not a
things like
comedian,
that as to
though.
why this happened.
It was bizarre to me because I'm like, my husband can go on stage and literally has a joke in his special about like getting a hooker isn't like cheating, it's just outsourcing, which I really don't care. Like, I think it's a funny joke, but it's like, if I say something that
You said you wanted to fuck 3 different men. What? You said you wanted to have a threesome with his best friend. You said you had a roster of guys and popping pussy at a university when you're his wife. And furthermore, you're not even a comedian.
that's equally, you know, raunchy, like then I'm a whore or all these things. But the reality is what the reality is. It's like I was a virgin when I met my husband. We lost our virginity to each other, and I never made that a part of my identity. I only shared that because I share my life story because I'm an oversharer. Y'all made it a part of my identity and then used it against me. I don't give a fuck if I was a virgin or I wasn't, or if my body count was 100, but it wasn't. Those are just facts.
I mean, it's not whether you care or not, it's whether other people care. Like, sure, you can say you don't care all you want to, but sometimes what you do affect other people.
So if you want to take like tongue-in-cheek videos and make it into something it's not, like that's not really a reflection of me, that's a reflection of them.
Yeah, gang, you kind of got to blame your husband for that one, though. To be fair. And also, you're not a comedian. I'm sorry to say it, but you're not a comedian in a comedic setting with the comedic timing. I don't know. So now you have Jasleen running around the internet speaking as though they escaped this problem created entirely by the toxic people and the fake friends and the environment and all this other stuff like that. But the person who loses out on it the most is Akash. He left a platform he spent 9 years building, seemingly damaged relationships with people that, you know, he's trusted and became friends with and worked with along the way. He walked away from the most consistent form of exposure for his career. And not to do the psychoanalyze thing, if you look at recent pictures of Akash, it looked like he in that tub of Ben and Jerry's. Them cheeks look a little bit full, my brother, and it's not because you just got—
Bro, he looks so like damaged. He looks so sad.
got naturally high cheekbones and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Jasleen is over here still not admitting that she was sharing the intimate details, that she may have been making a mistake, still isn't saying that she did anything wrong or could have prefaced or whatever the case may be. I think this creates this dangerous dynamic in a relationship. One partner makes the situation public, refuses to acknowledge their contribution, and then expects the other person to rearrange their life around the fallout and aftermath. Now don't get it twisted, Akash had different options. He could have established boundaries with the audience, the cast, and his wife. He could have defended Jasleen from harassment while also telling her that their private life should remain private. Instead, the largest boundary appears to be removing himself from the flagrant community completely. And this is where supporting your partner becomes surrendering control to them 100%. Jasleen's problems became Akash's problems. Her enemies became his enemies. Her version of accountability becomes the only version he is allowed to support. And her solution ultimately becomes his sacrifice. Mind you, this is a racist community while Andrew Schultz was sitting there making Indian jokes about Akash for the past 9 years. Give me a fucking break. Jasleen may have experienced harassment or criticism that made her feel violated, stressed, and unsafe online, but her answers to the fans shows that she still does not appear to recognize her own decision-making, her own choices that contributed to the situation. She's talking about this toxic environment that is right-wing and is racist and is doing all these things.
But wasn't it that before, though?
That's why Akash had to leave, and it was supposed to be wrapped up as amicable and all this other stuff like that. But again, what amicable situation leads in no, like, you know, final episode? This has always been a racist right-wing environment, but all of a sudden it's just become too much. She chose to make these conversations public. Flagrant didn't force her to push these private and intimate details to the forefront, especially when your husband for the past 9 years has been, you know, positioning you as this picture perfect woman. None of this stuff came out of nowhere is what I'm trying to get at. And now, instead of taking accountability for her actions or inactions or whatever you want to say, she's trying to paint everybody else in this super duper negative light. And I can acknowledge Akash may be prioritizing stand-up, but Jasleen's answers make it increasingly likely that protecting their marriage influenced the decision. The problem is
Honestly,
that
I wouldn't even protect their marriage. I would have just like voted it. I would have just like threw the ball into the stands.
Akash once again appears to be the person making the sacrifice, while Jasleen accepts none of the blame at all. And if seriously you feel as though these are the steps that your husband needs to take so that you can get on these different podcasting platforms with your friend talking about how you want to be bent over by your friend's husband and have your friend involved while Akash sits there and watches, I genuinely and honestly don't know if this can continue on. Now,
okay, we're gonna move on to the next video, but I'm gonna get some water and some more snacks. I will be RB. Hold up, my thingy's not working, so we're just gonna do this. This. There we go. And I'm gonna just turn off my webcam. Okay, we are back, and I got my water. Had to do a little bit of bootlegging here. And let's go straight back into it. What is our next video? Oh, okay, so this is the one about EDP. Let's get it. YouTubers worst predator has returned. Ooh, what the? Okay, hold up. Let me do that real quick.
It's been 5 years since 2 million subscriber YouTuber EDP445 was caught in a predator sting operation, a moment that became one of the most infamous incidents in YouTube history. During the confrontation, he famously claimed he was there to pick up a
Bro, I remember when me and all my friends were doing that joke.
cupcake.
Oh, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake.
A line that instantly became a meme and cemented his online downfall. In the aftermath, EDP lost everything. He became a laughingstock overnight, and for many people, the face of online predators on YouTube. One of many. Most people in that position would disappear from the public eye, try to rebuild their lives in public, and be grateful they avoided prison. EDP chose a different path, from attempting comebacks on obscure platforms, to issuing an apology and then quickly walking it back, to repeatedly finding himself in similar situations and getting exposed all over again. EDP has become a textbook example of someone hitting rock bottom and somehow continuing to dig deeper.
Bro. He's like, he's kind of like a sewer rat. He keeps on coming back up from the sewers.
Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we're going to... Let's get right into the video. It's hard to imagine someone that hasn't at least heard of EDP, but I suppose it's a remote possibility. For those of you that are uninformed, EDP, short for Eat Dat 445,
or it could be EDC, Eat That Cupcake. Okay, I need to stop.
Exploded in the 2010s through loud rants
Almost
about
like
the
grown man
Philadelphia Eagles, alongside his love for poop and goo. Probably his most famous rant that you will most likely recognize is his Good Evening Twitter video.
Good evening, Twitter. This is your boy, Eat That 445, and about like 30 to 45 minutes ago, I beat the out of my so god hard.
Okay. Okay. I mean, interesting.
That I can't even feel my left leg. My left leg has went totally numb, and my has also went totally numb to the point to where it feels weird when I go and take a piss.
Videos like I flooded the toilet at Chipotle.
Okay. I don't remember all of this now. Maybe it's because I was far away from this side of the internet. And thankfully I was.
And best beat your to spread far beyond his core audience. His fans saw him as a walking meme before the term was even overused. As his audience grew, so did the attention. He even crossed paths with Tyler, the Creator. By the late 2010s, EDP had become one of YouTube's most recognizable personalities, despite never really changing his formula. Looking back though, there were warning signs that many viewers dismissed as part of the character. His content was often hyper and his behavior could be erratic. In a 2020 live stream, he even suggested that if he were president, relationships between adults and minors should be legal.
Excuse me? I mean, I'm gonna say this is a bit iffy. But again, like, that's crazy. But again, yeah, very iffy. 17 myself, but about to be 18. And the reason I say it's iffy is like, no, I don't think like a 40-year-old man should be dating a 10-year-old. I'm saying like maybe a 17-year-old could date a 19-year-old. Or a 16 and 18. Those are 2 years difference. I'm not saying that you should be 21 dating a 16-year-old. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like maybe a 2-year age gap here.
The laws that I would enforce if I were president of the United States. And one of those laws are, this is going to be hella controversial. One of those laws are, if you're under the age of 18 and you're a chick and
Excuse me? Why did he say that so greasily? Like, what? Huh? If you are under the age of 18 and a chick. But what are we doing here? What are we actually doing?
And you get with a guy that's over the age of 18.
What is the age gap here? It- 16 and 18 is way different from 16 and 45 there, buddy. But thankfully he wasn't a white man, or he would have been president instantly. That's what we call Donald Trump.
It's consensual, dog.
At the time, comments like these were often brushed aside as another example of ADP saying outrageous things for attention. Then the allegations started. Private messages allegedly involving ADP began circulating online. YouTuber Cold Raven released evidence and later ran a series of videos documenting interactions using an underage decoy with him. ADP responded with defensive videos of his own, including one that reportedly blamed underage girls for seeking attention. Instead of making the accusations...
Wait. Blaming underage girls for seeking attention? That's like blaming the gun for hitting a person. Or blaming the bullet for hitting someone. What are you... Huh?
disappear, the responses only drew more scrutiny, and everything came crashing down in April 2021. A predator hunting group led by Alex Rosen, then operating under the Predator Approaches brand, conducted a sting operation using a decoy posing as a 13-year-old girl named Sophie. According to the released chat logs, ADP exchanged dozens of messages containing explicit content before agreeing to meet her in person. The meeting took place in a parking lot in Bakersfield, California. When confronted on camera, ADP
Bakersfield? Okay, that's just a trash name. I'm not gonna lie to you.
admitted he was there to meet the girl, but repeatedly tried to explain himself. During the exchange, he claimed he had only come to get a cupcake.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake.
That single line instantly became one of the most infamous memes in YouTube history. The confrontation video spread everywhere. Most notably, Charlie, aka Most Critical, would cover this situation, and his initial coverage would blow this up into the mainstream. Currently, his first video has 22
That was 2021? Oh, no, I thought the EDP situation was like 7 years ago. Wait. Well, don't I feel old now? What was I doing 2021?
million views. This truly was a cultural moment for anyone that had any remote interest in commentary on YouTube. Hell, even people that had zero interest had at least heard about it a little bit. Those who followed him for years watched in disbelief as one of the platform's biggest personalities unraveled in real
I mean,
time.
yeah, but the only thing that would make it better if he was a Minecraft YouTuber.
ADP immediately privatized his videos and effectively disappeared from the internet overnight. YouTube permanently terminated both his channels and backup accounts. Alex Rosen's
Honestly,
channel
better
was
than anything Twitch would have done.
also removed the same day. Law enforcement opened an investigation, but no criminal charges were ever filed, and critics argued that the vigilante nature of the operation severely damaged any potential case. As a result, ADP walked away without prosecution, though the court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. Chris Hansen, famous for To Catch a Predator, publicly offered ADP a chance to sit down and explain his side of the story.
Okay.
ADP
I do like Chris Hansen, okay? But really, I do love the meme of the Boondocks guy. I'm not doing the meme. I'm not doing the meme. Like, I'm gonna stop.
He considered the interview more than once, but ultimately declined. Most people assumed that after being caught in one of the most public internet scandals of the decade, ADP would disappear for good. Instead, he did the exact opposite. Within days of the confrontation video going viral, he was already talking about a comeback. Rather than addressing the allegations head-on, ADP uploaded videos to Facebook announcing that he was moving his content to a personal website. He insisted that the ADP movement movement wasn't over and framed himself as someone who had been unfairly targeted.
It was cracking with it. It's your boy, and eat that 445. So just want to let you guys know, man, EDP445.com is coming soon. Been about like a week, maybe 2 weeks from now. I'm gonna have a website up and popping and shit, you know. That's where I'm gonna be posting all of my new videos and shit, over there up on the website. You know what I mean?
He's like a cockroach. He just keeps on showing up.
Continuing to eat that movement, letting ass motherfuckers feel it, and straight whipping our fucking cocks out and pissing all over motherfuckers. You feel me? So with that being said, man, EDP445.com. It's coming soon. This website is gonna be crack-a-lacking.
I feel like if I search that up, I'm just gonna get like bombarded with either like just porn ads or like just get hacked. We're not doing that.
You know about that, boy.
To many viewers, it was surreal. One of the biggest scandals in YouTube history had just unfolded, and his first instinct seemed to be figuring out how to stay online. That would become a recurring pattern. Every time a platform removed him, he immediately looked for another one. He tried Vimeo, and the account was quickly suspended. So then, he created a new YouTube channel called The Notorious EDP. Before it was terminated, he uploaded videos showing off his firearms collection and talking about his situation. The channel was removed almost immediately. He made a backup account and that got removed too. He moved to 3Speak and that account disappeared.
What are all these? I didn't know there were so many YouTube clones before. Like, I honestly didn't know. Like, what the? How do you even find all of this?
Once moderators became aware of who he was. At one point, he even attempted a political stunt, filing paperwork to run as a replacement candidate during California's gubernatorial recall election. The campaign went nowhere and he never appeared on the ballot, but it reinforced the growing perception that EDP was willing to try absolutely anything to stay relevant. While he was desperately hopping between platforms,
he's like a clout chaser. A clout hunter, even.
his personal life was reportedly falling apart. His income had largely vanished, sponsorships were gone, his YouTube career was over, and according to accounts from the time, he bounced between jobs in trucking and fast food, but struggled to keep steady employment because people kept recognizing him. Even a brief attempt to drive for Lyft reportedly ended after passengers identified him and complaints followed. The internet had effectively turned him into radioactive material. Any company associated with him risked immediate backlash. As the situation worsened, EDP eventually left Bakersfield and relocated to the Las Vegas area. Around the same period, he even filed paperwork attempting to legally change his name. The change never actually went through, but many saw it as another sign of his deteriorating mental state. By 2022, he was running out of mainstream options. With YouTube, Twitter, and most major platforms closed off to him, he migrated to Bigo Live. The move didn't exactly revive his career. Most streams were flooded with trolls, critics, and people mocking him. Instead of rebuilding a loyal audience, he became something of a spectacle to throw peanuts at.
Why did you come to Bigo?
What Bigo?
This app.
Oh, you mean Bigo? Oh.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about?
Yeah. Like, you can find some bad on here too, bro. You can find some bad
Listen, man. I'm cool on that bullshit.
So you don't want what you want, kids?
Block him. He's gone.
Hold up. I wasn't ready for that. Rewind that.
Listen, man. I'm cool on that bullshit.
So you don't want what you want, kids?
Block him. He's gone. Get him out.
I'm sorry. That was so unexpected. That was so unexpected.
Back, you big ass. Just don't make that ass the fuck up. You peanut head ass. But you like touching on little kids. You want a cupcake? You want a cupcake face nasty big ass. You nasty big ass. You better touch me next?
Around the same time, he managed to find an audience on TikTok. Unlike YouTube, where the cupcake incident was impossible to escape, TikTok's younger user base seemed far less familiar with his history. By focusing heavily on football content, especially around the Super Bowl, EDP quietly rebuilt a following that grew into the hundreds of thousands. For the first time since the sting, it looked like he might actually pull off a comeback. To prevent criticism from dominating his posts, he frequently disabled comments. Even then, many viewers were shocked that someone whose reputation had been so thoroughly destroyed could regain any audience at all. His biggest project during this period was launching his own website. The logic was simple. If every platform kept banning him, he would create a space where nobody could remove him. The site allowed him to upload content directly to his audience without relying on YouTube or social media companies. Using an older account, EDP quietly returned to YouTube and rapidly gained roughly 20.
Who is, bro? This, okay, I'm counting 4, 6 even different accounts this brother had done made to get back on YouTube or other platforms. Like,
8,000 subscribers in just a couple weeks. It was proof that despite everything, a portion of his audience was still willing to support him. The comeback lasted about 2 weeks before YouTube terminated the channel for ban evasion. Following his permanent TikTok ban in early 2023, EDP retreated from the mainstream platforms and shifted his focus to his personal website, even going as far as to sell off personal possessions, including his YouTube play buttons. Not long afterward, he attempted to rewrite the narrative surrounding the 2021 Predator sting by claiming the entire incident had been a setup and that his responses during the confrontation were merely part of an audition for a movie role. The supposed interview supporting his claims was exposed as fake, relying on a text-to-speech voice impersonating Barack Obama.
What can you even do about this, man? What can you...
And an online poll he created to gauge public support for his innocence received just 13 favorable votes out of more than 4,200 responses before it was quietly deleted.
He had his business card attached to the email.
Okay, that was shortly after the movie, maybe next year or so. You put kind of 2 and 2 together and everything aligned to this.
What is this?
It's actually been an opportunity for you.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so Chet emails you and tells you to meet him at the apartment complex? I'm sorry, maybe I'm not understanding.
Well, again, you know, the original meetup spot was at the Rite Aid.
In what f***ing solar system would someone be so stupid as to get a random email from someone claiming to be a movie producer who just reached out to you with a cold call saying, hey, your performance in this documentary was superb, spectacular stuff. Come meet me at a Rite Aid where I'm going to have you play a predator.
As the year progressed, he made another effort to repair his public image by releasing what he described as an official apology and speaking about redemption. The statement, however, focused almost entirely on the impact the controversy had on his friends and family rather than on the people he had targeted. He avoided directly addressing the sting operation, the allegations against him, or the emails he had previously claimed would prove he was set up.
Yeah, I just wanted to come on here and, you know, offer this apology video to my friends, to my family.
Many viewed the video as an attempt to rebuild his online presence rather than a genuine act of accountability, a perception that only grew stronger when he walked back the apology entirely just weeks later. If you thought EDP was done allegedly trying to meet up with minors, then you're in for a big surprise. Before the end of the year, YouTuber Gideon would release a video catching EDP again in the act of allegedly trying to meet up with a 15-year-old this time. In it, Gideon dresses up as a cupcake in reference to the viral meme, and EDP seems to be having none of it.
We didn't get to say much to Bryant. We just walked into his appointment as I expected. Well, Bryant, I just want to know, why do you think we're here? if you could guess, Bryant, why do you think we're here?
By 2024, EDP's website briefly disappeared after he stopped paying the Shopify fees, though it later returned. Around the same time, photos surfaced showing him with Boogie2988 during the filming of a documentary by filmmaker Mike Klum that focused on the controversies and allegations surrounding him. The project immediately sparked debate over whether documenting his story amounted to giving him an undeserved platform. Okay, so tired of the questions, so gonna answer them all as best I can here, without breaking NDA. Yes, this is me and EDP445. Yes, it's real. This is a film set for a Mike Klum documentary. No, we weren't hanging out, we were filming a doc in this photo. Yes, we discussed the horrible shit he has done in the past. No, it won't be on my channel. No, it's not a fluff piece designed to make him look good, you doofuses. The doc will likely drop by summer on the Mike Klum channel. Yes, I knew the optics of this and how people would accuse me of PDF. But I am not a PDF, so I don't care. Yes, I was compensated for travel and expenses to be in this thing. The documentary still has yet to be released, so it's safe to say that whatever he said in this interview was bad enough to be never shown the light of day. EDP's most significant comeback effort emerged later that year, when he revealed a YouTube channel he had quietly created long before making—
Holy fuck. This guy just keeps making them. This is like gotta be his like what, 8th?
It public. The channel cycled through several identities, including the OG445, Big Cheese, Eat That 445, and eventually the infamous EDP. Once he began uploading regularly, he framed himself as a victim of YouTube's enforcement actions and used that narrative to attract an audience. The strategy proved to be more successful than any of his previous attempts, with the channel gaining thousands of subscribers in a matter of days, and eventually growing it into the tens of thousands, making it his most successful return since his original downfall. As the channel gained momentum, EDP released a video titled "Mistakes Were Made," presenting it as a statement of accountability. Yet, within moments, it became clear that the video was not an apology in any meaningful sense. He insisted he did not owe the public an emotional display of remorse, argued that any responsibility he had was limited to friends and family, and ultimately shifted the blame towards the minors involved in the allegations against him.
What? Bro.
You heard that right. He blames the minors for being at fault for messaging him.
I also feel minors should get in trouble for messaging adults. You feel me? Having a very malicious intent behind their messages.
Brother, you're a whole grown adult. You're a grown man that couldn't tell this?
Let's not make the video then. Oh, you need to take accountability and responsibility. You need to cam up and address your fans. The only people that I need to address are my friends and my family members that I
love how every time he returns, it just gets lower in quality. like every single time he just makes a comeback, the quality just drops ever so lower.
By my actions.
By 2025, the majority of EDP's online career had largely turned into a game of whack-a-mole. Every time one account disappeared, another would appear in its place, usually only lasting a short time before being removed as well. One of the more notable developments came when he joined Cameo, offering personalized videos ranging from birthday messages and insults to life advice for a fee. The move immediately drew criticism from drama channels and viewers who argued that people should not be financially supporting him. Despite numerous reports, Cameo ultimately stated that it found no reason to take action, allowing his account to remain active still to this day. Around the same period, his most successful comeback channel, the infamous EDP, finally came to an end, after surviving for roughly 7 months, far longer than any of his previous attempts. The moment it was terminated, he launched another channel under the familiar EDP name. That account lasted less than a week before it was removed as well. You get the idea. year, repeat a few more times. The pattern continued for the rest of the year. A steady stream of burner accounts appeared and vanished almost as quickly, each struggling to gain any meaningful audience. By the end of 2025, his remaining online presence had shrunk dramatically. His active channel reportedly had fewer than 2,000 subscribers, and most uploads were drawing only a few thousand viewers. The final video associated with that period was reportedly uploaded in late October and centered on an unusually personal story involving a self-inflicted injury. Yet even after years of bans, failed comeback attempts, and repeated controversies, 2026 would prove that EDP had no intention of disappearing from the internet. At the start of
Bro,
2026,
this has to get old at some point. This really does.
EDP returned to YouTube once again and tried a strategy he'd already tested on TikTok, strictly sticking to football content. He announced that he was going to keep everything family-friendly from that point forward, which is a pretty wild statement coming from someone with his history. The crazy part is that it actually seems to be working. After posting on an alternate channel and getting banned yet again, EDP somehow managed to appeal one of his old channels and get it reinstated. That's right, YouTube brought back his old school EDP channel, and he's still uploading to it today. In fact, as of writing this, he posted a new video just yesterday. Looking at the channel now, most of the content is just sports commentary, along with the occasional clip of him showing off his guns and trying to come across as a tough guy. The biggest question is how he managed to get reinstated in the first place. The leading theory is that YouTube's newer moderation systems simply don't recognize who he is. From the algorithm's perspective, it sees a channel posting football videos and following the rules, so it doesn't flag anything as a problem. Personally, I recently experienced the opposite problem, where my second channel, where I compiled my own videos, was flagged for impersonating myself.
What?
This was due to YouTube implementing new AI systems that decide whether channels can exist or not. So it's entirely possible that YouTube's new AI system, that has been extremely controversial for demonetizing real creators, has accidentally just allowed EDP to now exist again on
You're
the
just
platform.
throwing him a bone.
Obviously, this isn't exactly how you'd want to end a video about someone who has faced serious allegations involving minors. In the past, EDP always seemed to be lying low while his situation continued to spiral, so it's frustrating to see him somehow pull off a major win. After spending so much time researching him, the best comparison I can make is that he's like a cockroach. No matter how many times—
Bro, I said that like, what, not even 30 minutes ago. Well, it's only 20 minutes, but I've been talking for a while, so it is what it is.
times he gets knocked down, he always finds a way to stick around. He'll endure just about any amount of humiliation if it means staying relevant and continuing to make money online. And honestly, the logic makes sense. It's hard to imagine him holding a normal job, because the moment people recognize who he is, his past would likely follow him. As a result, the internet is pretty much the only way he can continue to make a living.
Yeah.
That's why it's so frustrating to see his Cameo account and now his YouTube channel still active. Whether you agree with me or not, I think most people can agree that someone with his history probably shouldn't have a platform online. Yet somehow, he continues to slip through the cracks. Maybe it's because enough time has passed that these platforms no longer see it as a priority. Maybe they simply don't care. And maybe Critical needs to make another video talking about him so people are aware that he's still active. Either way, perhaps bringing more attention to it will push YouTube and Cameo to take another look at the situation. So if you can, drop a like on the video, leave a comment.
Bro, I don't even want to get into the David situation. Bro, I could not.
NBA YoungBoy has.
Okay, let's move past this one. I need to go pee real quick, and I will be back. I have been doing this for a while now. Goodness gracious. Let's see if my thing works. And it doesn't. So we're going back. Give me a second. I gotta do a little bit of the getaway here. Okay, we are in fact very back. Let's go again. This time we're watching Cuba was barely holding on and then oil ran out. Let's get straight into it, boys.
Cuba is a beautiful Caribbean island 90 miles off the coast of Florida, less than an hour by plane from the world's largest consumer economy. And yet, roughly 90% of its population lives in poverty. That gap is what 60 years of economic isolation does to a country. And right now, that isolation is showing up in a very visible way. The country is running on fumes, relying on low-quality domestic oil and hoping for more oil tankers from Russia. Meanwhile, rolling blackouts stretch up to 20 hours a day across the island. State industries have largely stopped functioning, and agricultural output has fallen. The economy is on track to shrink by around 15% relative to pre-crisis levels. And between 2020 and 2024, Cuba's population shrank by roughly 1 in 8 people, driven largely by a historic wave of emigration. What had been a slow, managed decline has tipped into something that looks less like an economic crisis and more like a humanitarian one. The immediate trigger was the collapse of a deal with Venezuela, Cuba's main energy supplier. For years, Venezuela had been providing the bulk of Cuba's oil in exchange for food, medical workers, and political support. It wasn't exactly a great foundation. If your economic stability depends on Venezuela, things are already not going particularly well. But even a house of cards can remain standing, right up until someone pulls the table from underneath it. And that happened just a few months ago when the Trump administration decided to deal with the Venezuela question somewhat more directly. US forces arrested Maduro in Caracas, and under direct US pressure, the Venezuelan oil shipments to Cuba stopped almost immediately. Mexico's state oil company stepped in to cover the gap, but it pulled back after Trump introduced punitive tariffs for suppliers, effectively blocking Cuba from receiving oil imports from anyone. Cuba's isolation has left it so exposed that when Washington decides to cut the tap, the whole system buckles. Now, if that wasn't enough, Trump has been openly floating military intervention, calling a Cuba operation as viable as the Maduro capture. Cuba's response has been to announce 176 free market reforms it's calling the most sweeping since the revolution itself. Whether that's enough to change anything remains to be seen. So, as always, we've got some important questions to answer. How did Cuba end up so cut off from the global economy that its energy supply depends on a deal with Venezuela? What is actually happening on the ground right now? And is there any realistic path out of this? I started Economics Explained because I wanted to create something that did not exist. In the process of that creation came so many other tasks besides the ones I originally signed up for. Sales, client relationships,
Oh, let me
and the
guess,
whole
Odoo.
host of
Banger. 100% right on that one.
blow, at least for a while, was the Soviet Union. For most of the Cold War, the USSR propped Cuba up with huge subsidies, accounting on average for roughly a fifth of the entire Cuban economy. When the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991, that support vanished almost overnight, and Cuba's GDP fell by more than a third in just 3 years. This wouldn't be the last time that Cuba's structural dependence on America's adversaries would come back to bite it. The government called this rough patch the Special Period in a Time of Peace, a fairly euphemistic name for a period that included mass food rationing, widespread blackouts, and importing more than 1 million bicycles from China because there was no fuel left for cars.
1 million bicycle? I mean, you know, at least they will be very healthy.
Genuinely unusual is that even after all of this, the embargo survived. The Soviet Union had collapsed, the Cold War was over, and most of the countries that had been on the wrong side of American foreign policy eventually got folded back into the global trading system. Vietnam, which had fought a brutal and deeply personal war against the United States, rebuilt its relationship with Washington and is now Southeast Asia's fastest growing major economy. China opened up and became the factory of the world. Even Russia was doing substantial business with the West, at least until the war in Ukraine changed that. But Cuba remained locked out, and the reason has more to do with politics than economics. Unlike many other communist states, after the USSR collapse, Cuba's political leaders continued to prioritise the survival of the socialist system over economic and political reform. That gave the embargo's defenders exactly the justification they needed to keep it in place. It also reinforced support among many Cuban Americans who believed continued pressure was the best path forward. The Cuban diaspora in the US became a serious political force in Florida, a state that has decided more than a few presidential elections. So the embargo became untouchable, because any politician who suggested lifting it risked losing Florida, and losing Florida can mean losing the White House. This left Cuba increasingly dependent on whatever allies it could find, and Washington was intent on limiting even those. Congress eventually locked the embargo into law and extended its reach beyond US borders, threatening penalties for any foreign company that tried to trade with Cuba. The message to the rest of the world was clear. You can do business with the largest consumer economy on Earth, or you can do business with Cuba, an increasingly isolated, impoverished state. Most countries chose the obvious option, and you can hardly blame them. That kind of sustained isolation made Cuba's economy more and more lethargic. When countries engage in global trade, competitive pressure forces efficiency. Inefficient industries lose out, and governments face real consequences for protecting them. That's what happened to most nominally communist countries. Once they started engaging with global trade, even partially, the competitive pressure created an internal logic that pushed them further and further toward free markets. Cuba never had that pressure. The command economy stayed in place, the state sector expanded, and genuine reform was always deferred. The Cuban government has long pointed to the American embargo as the explanation for the country's economic problems. The reason the country is failing is not because state systems are corrupt, resources are misallocated, or the island is facing a mass brain drain. It's because of US policy. And that's not entirely wrong, but it's not the whole story. In practice, the embargo has done two things at once. It has made Cuba's economy materially harder to run, and it has given the government a powerful external explanation for problems that are also partly homegrown. So, how did the economy survive at all? For years, two reliable sources of foreign money kept the economy moving: tourism and remittances from the diaspora, which ironically came from the very community that was keeping the embargo in place. Somewhere between $1 and $3 billion flows into Cuba each year in remittances, money sent home by Cubans living in the United States, Spain, and across Latin America. Exactly how large a share of the economy that represents depends on two things: which estimate of Cuba's GDP you use, and which exchange rate you use to calculate it. Cuba's official government statistics put GDP at somewhere around $100 billion, which would make remittances a modest 2 to 3% of the total. The inter-American dialogue puts Cuba's real economic output...
I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought it was like... Oh, it's probably gonna get worse, hold up.
Closer to $14 billion, though. At that scale, the same remittances work out to around 26% of GDP. What is not in dispute, though, is that in an economy with almost no access to foreign currency through normal trade, remittances are one of the primary mechanisms keeping Cuba's general population fed. The second factor keeping the Cuban economy afloat was tourism. By 2019, Cuba was receiving around 4.2 million visitors a year, generating more than $2.5 billion in revenue. Cuba is genuinely a beautiful country. It has pristine beaches, historic architecture, and the unique appeal of a Caribbean destination that avoided the resort chains and commercial development that reshaped most of the region. Not by choice exactly, but because 60 years of isolation had made sure of it. But even at its peak, Cuban tourism was fragile. The revenue mostly flowed to state-owned hotels and enterprises rather than circulating through the local economy, and the infrastructure was aging. And then COVID hit. International arrivals collapsed and remittances dropped sharply too. GDP fell by more than 10% in 2020 alone, becoming the worst contraction since the special period. And if that wasn't enough, Cuba's government made the situation considerably worse. In January 2021, Cuba carried out a long-deferred monetary reform, unifying its two currencies and devaluing the Cuban peso from...
Hold up. They had two currencies in their country? What was the point of that?
A 1-to-1 rate with the dollar to 24-to-1. The idea was to force state enterprises to become more efficient by removing a major price distortion.
Yeah, fair.
But with the new exchange rate, basic imports suddenly became much more expensive. Before the reform, a $200 import went on the books as 200 pesos. After the 2021 devaluation to 24 pesos per dollar, that same import cost 4,800 pesos overnight. Businesses and the government had to raise prices to cover their actual costs, and that price shock rippled through the entire economy almost
They could have made it like
The result was
110.
triple-digit inflation that wiped out most of the purchasing power ordinary Cubans had managed to hold on to. Through all of this, the thing keeping the lights on, literally, was Venezuela. Back in 2000, Venezuela's president at the time, Hugo Chavez, struck a deal with his ideological ally Fidel Castro that was essentially a barter. Venezuela supplied Cuba with oil at below market rates and on favourable credit terms, and Cuba sent back personnel. At its peak, Venezuela pumped close to 100,000 barrels of oil a day to Cuba. And in return, Cuba sent around 40,000 doctors, teachers, security advisors, and military personnel to Venezuela. Though the conditions under which those workers were sent is a story in itself, and one we'll be covering in more detail in this week's newsletter. In any case, Cuba needs around 100,000 barrels a day to function normally and only produces about 40,000 domestically. So, at the height of the deal, Venezuela was covering virtually all of Cuba's energy requirements. The fragility of that should have been obvious. Venezuela's oil production has been dropping for years and its population is leaving by the millions. The volume of oil flowing to Cuba had been declining for years before 2026, from that 100,000 barrel peak in the late Chavez years down to around 15,000 barrels a day in 2025. So Cuba was already running on a fraction of what it needed, well before the final cut came. When it did, the combination of Maduro's arrest, US pressure on Venezuela, and the subsequent executive order cut Cuba's oil imports to near zero almost overnight. With Venezuelan oil gone, Cuba began siphoning its emergency reserves and scrambled for alternative sources. Mexico's state oil company had briefly stepped in to cover the gap, but halted shipments in late January under direct US pressure. Then Russia sent 2 tankers. The first successfully delivered around 730,000 barrels after the US granted it passage. Those stores lasted just 6 weeks. The second tanker stalled for weeks before diverting, never delivering its cargo of diesel. In May, the Cuban government announced it had no oil or diesel reserves left. The result was immediate and devastating. Across the island, rolling blackouts now stretch to 20 hours a day, in some areas even around the clock. And no electricity means essentially no production. The lack of fuel has paralysed large sectors of the economy, including rubbish collection. Rubbish trucks don't run without diesel, so across the island, rubbish has been piling up in city streets for months. Food and agricultural production has fallen by 60% relative to an already structurally weak baseline. For a country that relies on imports for the large majority of its food consumption, that is a serious problem. And Cuba, with almost no export revenue, doesn't have the foreign currency to cover the gap. Even the water supply hasn't been spared. Because 84% of Cuba's water pumping systems run on electricity, clean drinking water has become increasingly scarce. By March 2026, roughly 1 million Cubans were relying on water tanker trucks known locally as peepers for clean water, which is a problem as those trucks also run on diesel. Now, the reason the grid collapsed so completely is that it was already in serious trouble before the oil ran out. Cuba's national electricity system was built largely in the decades after 1959 and hasn't received the investment and maintenance it requires for more than 30 years. By early 2025, before the oil ran out, only 34% of installed power plant capacity was available on any given day. That means 2/3 of the system was sitting idle, offline from corrosion, mechanical failure, and a chronic shortage of spare parts. The system ran on a combination of imported oil and Cuba's own domestic crude, which is so high in sulfur that it corrodes the boilers and turbines it runs through. To plug some of the gap, the government had been
to be
leasing...
fair, I don't really know much about oil production, if we're being honest here.
Loading power plants from Turkey, but when it fell behind on payments, those ships left with their capacity. The result, even before the oil stopped entirely, was a daily electricity deficit averaging around 1,600 megawatts, roughly half the country's typical demand going unmet every single day. Meanwhile, Cuba had been directing roughly 32% of total national investment to tourism, while putting only 12% into its energy infrastructure. That's why, today, provincial officials manage the electricity allocation openly each morning, announcing which neighbourhoods will lose power and for how long. The healthcare system has not been spared either. Essential medicines are available at only around 30% of normal supply levels, and an estimated 96,000 medically necessary surgical procedures have not been performed, including around 11,000 involving children.
That's...
Blood banks and laboratories entirely dependent on reliable electricity are struggling to function. And infant mortality rates, which Cuba spent decades bringing down to levels that compared favourably with far wealthier countries, have doubled to 9.9 per 1,000 births. And if that wasn't enough, inflation is making all of it worse. While the official exchange rate sits at 24 pesos to the dollar, on the informal market the dollar buys closer to 450 pesos. In the small private shops that now do most of the actual food selling, a carton of 30 eggs can cost more than a month's government pension. The overall picture is accelerating collapse, where each failing system takes the next one down with it. No fuel means no electricity, which means no production. No production means no government revenue, and that means fewer imports of food and medicine. And through all of this, Cuba is going through the biggest migration wave in its history. Doctors, engineers, and young adults with options are looking at what is happening and deciding to leave. In fact, so many people are leaving that the total population is declining at an accelerating rate. And of those who have stayed, surveys suggest 78% plan to go. What separates Cuba's situation...
Fair enough. They're gonna run out of country to actually run. They're gonna not have a population to run a country, so it's just... I guess it's just gonna be left to imagination here.
from a simple energy crisis is that every available mechanism for relief has been closed off simultaneously. The country cannot borrow on international markets. Domestic production is far too limited to meet basic needs. And in May, Trump signed an executive order imposing secondary sanctions on GAESA, the military-industrial conglomerate that controls most of Cuba's economy. The country cannot attract significant foreign investment because any foreign company that tries to do business there now risks losing access to the US market. That's a trade-off almost no one is willing to make. Cuba's main source of hard currency is being squeezed by US financial restrictions and the basic reality that sending money into a country with a collapsing currency and no functioning banking system is increasingly difficult. Even the informal economy, which for years allowed Cubans to buy and sell outside the state system, is struggling now that there is simply less to buy. So, is there any realistic path out
Probably
of this?
not.
As much as I would like to say there isn't a clear one, at least not right now. The most obvious route would be a diplomatic resolution between Washington and Havana. Diaz-Canel confirmed Cuba was in talks with Washington, the first direct contact since 2016. Cuba's position was short: lift the energy blockade and we'll negotiate. The American position was considerably longer: release political prisoners, allow economic liberalization, and compensate Americans for assets seized after the 1959 revolution. Both sides talked, but neither moved. And even as those talks were still technically in progress, the US administration sanctioned Diaz-Canel personally, along with his wife and several senior officials, which is one way to run a negotiation. Then, Trump began floating the possibility of military intervention and saying an operation in Cuba was as viable as the Maduro capture. His message was increasingly clear. The goal isn't reform.
It's like my brother has left and didn't close my door. Whatever. Okay, I am back. I had to make sure my parents were here to help take care of my brother.
Removal. Cuba responded by announcing a sweeping package of 176 free market reforms, described by Cuban economists as the most profound shift since the revolution. The government is authorizing private banks, allowing foreign investment without forming joint ventures, lifting the cap on the size of private enterprises, and permitting imports and exports without state intermediation. Diaz-Canel explicitly cited the Vietnamese and Chinese models, which is worth pausing on, because earlier in this video we used Vietnam as the example of a country that chose commerce over ideology. Cuba appears to be reaching the same conclusion 60 years later. More striking was the acknowledgement from the government itself that price controls had failed and generated scarcity. For decades, the Cuban government has pointed to the American embargo as the explanation for everything that has gone wrong. Now, for the first time, the administration is admitting that some of the damage was self-inflicted. That's not nothing. But was all of this genuine reform or a move to avoid an invasion? Diaz-Canel was unambiguous when he said, "We are not doing this because of Yankee pressure." Whether you believe that is another matter. For decades, Washington's stated demand has been economic liberalization. Cuba has now announced exactly that. And Washington called it superficial smoke signals and announced fresh sanctions targeting military-controlled entities anyway. Which tells you something important about what the US actually wants. Economic reform was never quite the point. The point is the government itself. Sanctions stay until the government falls, or at least until it looks like it has. That also means the reforms, however significant historically, are unlikely to unlock any relief in the short term. The 176 measures don't touch GAESA, which is estimated to control between 40 and 70%
what
of
would be worse is if China somehow, some way, managed to back Cuba's situation.
Cuba's formal economy, including hotels, retail chains, import monopolies, and foreign currency flows. These are the assets that any serious investor would want access to. If Cuba opens up private banking and foreign investment while leaving GAESA's dominance intact, the people best positioned to partner with foreign investors, negotiate deals, and absorb new capital are the ones already inside that system. So the economy looks more open on paper, but the military elite ends up owning it through private structures rather than state ones. And that's before you get to the other problem. Most of these reforms require foreign investors to actually show up, which they won't while doing business with Cuba means risking access to the US financial system. The scale of economic transformation Cuba needs vastly exceeds what any of these reforms are permitted to deliver while US sanctions remain in place. And the entrepreneurs, professionals, and skilled workers who might have built something new have largely already left. Now, none of this means the picture can't change. The global order is becoming more multipolar, and China, Russia, and Iran all have their own reasons to push back against American pressure, which means that the kind of support Cuba lost when Venezuela fell away could, over time, be partially rebuilt. China, for its part, has already been moving. It has equipped Cuba with 49 new solar parks since early 2025, adding more than 1,000 megawatts of capacity to the grid. In the space of a year, Cuba's share of electricity generated from solar went from around 6% to more than 20%. And the country plans to add another 1,200 megawatts during 2026, which would bring renewables to somewhere between 30 and 35% of total generation by year's end. Now, there's a significant caveat. Cuba's history with ambitious targets and actual delivery is not encouraging, and the grid's broader infrastructure problems don't disappear just because you add solar panels. Solar is a daytime resource. Without substantial battery storage, which Cuba does not yet have, evening demand still has to be met with whatever fuel is available. Russia has been in the picture too, although less consistently. Of the 2 tankers it sent earlier this year, one delivered and one didn't. And the problem is that even together, they barely made a dent. Iran has expressed solidarity, but its own economic position limits what it can offer. In a world where American financial and diplomatic leverage is being contested by China, Russia, and others, the US blockade could become progressively harder to enforce. That may be true over a long enough horizon, but it's not true right now. And right now is when
they
the crisis
still have to survive it. No doubt about it.
is acute and people are going without medicine, clean water, and food. Even in the most optimistic scenario, Cuba would still face a shattered industrial base, a healthcare.
Okay, we're probably gonna get like 1-2 more videos in, and then I'm gonna have to call it a day. I have been doing this for a while now. Almost 3 hours on the YouTube channel, but like facing repeated fails with my OBS software. It's only 2 hours on here, so it is what it is. Let's see, which one do we really want to get into?
Korea's population.
Let me see if I can find. Is this another one from before? Speaking of which, the streamer university thing is going on, so I could watch that. Let me go here. Let's see what we got. Ooh. Another one to end this off.
Streamer India Love.
I mean, don't mind if I do. I would love to end this off on a Omeezy video. And let me just comment after.
Streamer India Love has been trying to prove for the past couple of months that everything about her has changed. She's taking on this new walk of life. She's not going to be this mean girl bratty image that she once has, and she's actually going to grow up into a more mature version of herself. But after a couple of choice interactions over this past weekend during DreamCon, I would say that that same old India Love never left.
Should I hear my phone? I'm already irritated.
What emojis do I have?
And I wish I could say it was just that one, but there are a couple other incidents that let me know that her attitude has been the exact same. Every time somebody corrects her or tells her no, she acts as though it's some sort of disrespect. And at this point, India Love is not being misunderstood. She's repeatedly showing people who she
Honestly,
is.
okay, I haven't heard India Love in a minute. Like, I'm pretty sure I haven't heard her name in months.
Conversation that I had, I think the issue is bigger than just an attitude problem. It's something that plagues her and other streamers vastly across the industry.
I think it's like the parasocial relationship of being a chat viewer. So I think being kind of in an echo chamber of your own doing through a fan
Okay, this
base
is kind of
can
fucked
be.
up. I never seen a black person with freckles. Huh.
Area where you can
Not really
If you're
hating,
new to
but
this and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe
just
button. It's gonna
a bit
go
weird.
a long way for the channel. Don't disrespect me by watching all of my videos, being all
Hey,
up in the
okay. I already commented. Don't even say anything, brother.
comment section, but not
I already been
subscribing.
subscribed.
myself and pushing 30. Now, back into the video. India Love has this strange relationship with her image and the internet. She is 30 years old, and not saying that's a
For me, that's crazy. For me, that's very, very crazy.
crazy thing because I myself am pushing 30. I'll be 30 in
Damn.
less than 30 days. But she still
I mean,
has
fair,
this
I'd
boss
be 18
girl,
in like less
bratty,
than 2 days or like 3.
you know, young person mentality about her. And it shows up in all these viral situations in which she is acting as though she is the star in every situation. Everybody is disrespecting her. She's always on edge, etc., etc. And the sun and the stars should revolve around her. First and foremost, I think it's very important to lay down the landscape and foundation as to who that was. That wasn't just some Randeezy sitting next to India Love. And even if it was, it kind of wouldn't matter. But that is J.D. Witherspoon, friend of the show, J.D. Witherspoon.
Okay,
somebody who
don't crucify me, but I do not know who he is.
Known for some time now. I've had multiple conversations with, and some of you may have watched as a child on his channel, Run JD Run. And just to put a little bit of extra spice on it, he's not new to this, he's true to this, and by that I mean being of some sort of fame or celebrity status, being around and adjacent to it. He is the son of John Witherspoon, Pops from Friday, also the father from the Wayans Brothers show. I mean, he's been around these environments for multiple times and instances, been to these celebrity games. I just needed to get that out there. I think it's also important to note that even though from the angle of this video specifically, JD does look at the phone. When I had the conversation with him just last night, he acknowledges, and in other angles that we can, you know, provide, it also is pretty clear that he does indeed look at her phone. But with that being said, I don't think that JD, and confirmed by him when I talked to him, had any sort of malicious intent when he was looking at her phone. To me, it looked like some sort of normal interaction where, you know, somebody was scanning the room. Oh, snap, there's a phone there. Oh, snap, he's live. Okay. And we can even back that with India Love's own words about what he said after he looked at her phone.
Come on, I should have went IRL. Like, who says shit like that? Right. Nigga, straight.
Without even me having the prior knowledge of the conversation based off of what JD said, it's a pretty safe assumption to say that, you know, maybe he thought to himself, I should stream. Now, after all, JD is a streamer. To say that it was lame that a streamer who probably didn't realize that he could stream or wasn't streaming or whatever the case may be said to himself, hey, I could have been streaming here, is lame, is a little weird. I don't think that there was any.
I mean, it seems normal. Maybe like being on the internet so much is like you just think everything someone does, if you're not the first to it, is lame. But I don't see a problem with this.
Intent as to him looking in your phone. The thing that was up on your phone was the chat. Chat informed you about him looking into your phone. This on guard mentality, this I'm the center of attention, to delve out the name calling to J. I just think that is strange. Mind you, she could have clearly turned to JD and asked him, or as the kids would say, checked him about looking in the phone, and I'm pretty sure it could have been cleared up and squashed in 1 second. But hey, there's a lot of confusion going on right there, and the issue isn't even really that India Love was wrong, it's just how quickly she was to get to the disrespect of it all. And I wish I could say that that was the only interaction that happened at the
I mean, if I remember correctly, it's like either India Love like considers herself a victim or like the baddest person in the room, and if anyone does something she doesn't like, she just like turns on him or something like that, or like says something after the fact they could have like already talked face to face.
Shortly after that situation, DreamCon security repeatedly told her and asked her, hey, can you move? Can you leave the basketball court, etc., etc. And instead of simply just moving, this person's doing their job. They're trying to, you know, situate whatever they had going on. India Love did an India Love. For what it's worth, I thought the security guard was doing what he normally does. Can security be overreachy
Yeah.
and pushy and all these things? Sure. But at the same time, he's just trying to handle things in the best way that he knows how. And if we were to just heed the warnings here, God, I can't believe I'm defending somebody that's technically a law enforcement officer, then maybe we wouldn't get to this situation. And I don't think that this situation was the worst of it all with India Love, but we've got to remember she has this image about herself. People already feel like she's this quote unquote bitchy person. And when it rains, it pours for her. This is about pattern recognition after all. So when you take the JD clip, when you take the situation with the security guard, and then you take the other two
Like,
interactions,
she
that
just
DreamCon-
constantly keeps on doing this.
These are our seats. They put us here.
We're not the movie guys somewhere else.
Let me call because they put us right here. Oh, he said let us sit.
I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to sell to an audience that you have this newfound attitude about yourself where you are trying to be this better presenting person. Again, I don't think that all of these things are the worst. There's
Yeah,
explanations.
but like, it's kind of like the way a white girl soccer mom would act. You know?
For why she did this, why she did that, why she did the third. But if I'm trying to sell a new image about myself, I certainly wouldn't be doing things like I did at DreamCon, or even worse, the most blatant example, the traffic situation.
You have to wait. You have to. Okay, and this is a public situation going on. You have to wait a second, sir. We're not doing anything wrong. Please give us 1 second. We're not bothering anybody. Please. You could go around. Go play, go play, go play. Go play, go play. Wait, let me make sure I got the TikTok.
Bro, they're literally blocking the street. Don't you have like a house or a mansion you could do this in?
Yeah, gotta go around.
Really, India? Blocking traffic for a mid TikTok at best?
Bro, whose
This is the larger
child is
problem
that?
of all of it. She only evaluates these situations according to how it can affect her or impact her. She wants the TikTok, so the driver should have to wait. She wants to remain on the court, so security should just repeatedly justify the rule. She doesn't want to get up to maybe show
It's
some
like
fan
she wants the rules to bend to her or bend for her, but like she's just not that person for like people to bend rules for. She's just not.
appreciation for somebody. Again, maybe a little bit of a reach, but it is what it is. So she'll sit down and ask this dude to bend down. Her chat says that JD is looking at her phone, so JD immediately becomes a lame in this situation. I think if you really wanted to, you could paint a narrative about India Love based off of all these multiple clips that have presented themselves over the past, 5-6 days. But these clips only become worse when you realize that, hey, pattern recognition is real and she's done stuff like this plenty of times before.
Miss, no camera, no filming inside, please.
Okay.
It's not recording, right, guys?
No, ma'am.
Because you're live then. If you can please take it off.
Okay, I'm just waiting for her to grab her stuff. She's a weirdo. She did not have to do all that.
Bro,
She's
it
a
literally
fucking
says no recording.
weirdo. Girl, your lady kicked me out. She's a fucking bitch. Whoever the fuck that was.
The DreamCon security interaction follows the exact same pattern as the store situation. There is an employee that is trying to do their job, follow rules, that is making all of $9 an hour, trying to, get some bananas and some chicken thighs so that they can go and cook at home. I don't even know what they're cooking with bananas and chicken thighs. Produce has parasites right now, people. Stay away from it. Here comes India Love immediately minimizing that person. It's not because she doesn't understand the rule, but it's because she doesn't understand why the rule should personally impact and affect
Again,
her.
she wants the rules to bend for her.
She immediately challenges an employee in turning a basic rule into some bigger confrontation. What makes it even worse, and I think shows more about who she is that, of course you linger, you try to draw it out, you're a streamer. I guess that's where we are now. But when she leaves the store, she automatically starts just insulting and throwing names at the employee. To me, stuff like that is just so weird.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's kind of childish. If we're being 100%, it's very childish.
As a whole. And for what it's worth, she did the same situation at the Streamer Awards, just in a different form.
Breakout Streamer of the Year went to Adapt. And congratulations, and we respect you for what you did. But Rakai should have won Breakout Streamer of the Year and DDG. I don't care what y'all say. Shut up,
Bruh.
Rakai, shut up. Boom, 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 boom.
FaZe Adapt had just won the biggest award in his life, really solidifying him in the streaming space, coming from being where he was and growing to the place and space that he eventually is now. But India Love disagreed with the results, and instead of just waiting to go home and be on the stream and, you know, give your 2 cents like most people would, she decided that was time for her to shine, ran on stage, and said what she decided to do. Now, for what it's worth, she would go on to apologize for the situation because she recognized ultimately how it diminished FaZe Adapt's accomplishments. And I do believe that that apology was driven by the chat, which we'll get to in a minute, because the community was slandering her as a whole. But months later, she's still treating public roads, convention courts, employees in workplaces like everyone else must accommodate exactly what she wants. This is this repeated pattern of entitlement followed by confusion. India acts impulsively, people criticize her, she explains her intention, she apologizes and talks about growth, and then another situation happens.
She just does it
actual reaction
repeatedly.
did not change. That's what makes this whole recent transformation so hard to believe. She knows how to describe her problem after the damage is done. She just cannot seem to control these situations when it is happening.
That's the whole reason why God allows making mistakes. He knows you're going to make mistakes.
Again, you just hear this talk about God. Like, I just don't know what it's about. Like, okay, God endowed you with freedom, but he endowed you with freedom, choice, and a brain. Okay, and you couldn't use that brain of yours to make a good decision?
And mistakes are designed to turn you to Him.
No, you just made the mistake. Learn from it and move on. There's no God in this situation. You made the mistake. Now you need to use that brain of yours to fix it.
I'm trying to say, He don't want me to be perfect. He don't want me to be cookie cutter, a saint all the time. He's okay with me.
Again, there's no God in this situation. This is your mistake. Goodness gracious.
Sinning, you know why? Because He knows I'm going to repent. You know why? Because I get convicted when I sin.
Now, I want to make it very clear before I go down this rabbit hole that I'm going down. I'm not questioning India Love's faith.
I mean,
religious
I'm not
status.
either,
This
but
isn't me
like,
challenging.
again, where is the God in this situation? This is your mistake at the end of the day. God did not make that choice for you. You did. He did not
beliefs, all these
curate that
different
mistake
things.
for you.
It's more to show something greater that I will get into, as opposed to saying she's not a Christian or a believer of God or whatever the case may be. So India Love has recently made this spiritual journey that she's going on a part of her public image. And there's no reason for me to believe that these emotions are fake. She could genuinely be trying to be more disciplined and move differently and all these things like that. But for what it's worth, India Love seems to be more successful at explaining
Yeah,
the
but
person that she
my
wants to
thing
be.
is just like, you couldn't make these choices without God. Like, again, I believe in Him, no doubt about it. But you should have a certain level of accountability where you can just say that it's your fuck up and that you're sorry about it and that you're going to use your brain to overcome the situation without bringing Him into this.
As opposed to becoming that person consistently and behaving like she should. To me, real growth is shown in the small and uninteresting moments. Moving the car when someone needs to pass, leaving the court when security asks, turning off the camera when an employee says that there's a policy, and for sure, not cussing them out and calling them all types of names once you leave the store. Now, of course, none of these moments would create some sort of virality and people would be talking about it, but that's not necessarily what she would be searching for, because she's simply trying to demonstrate this maturity and consideration that she hasn't had before. India Love's problem is not that she's making mistakes. Everyone does, right? I make mistakes, you make mistakes, we all do. The problem is that each mistake seems to come from the same belief that her feelings, content, and intentions are more important than everybody else around her. She appears to view some sort of boundaries as disrespect. When an employee says no, she hears that they are targeting her. When security asks her to move, she believes that she's owed some sort of debate. And when chat accuses someone, she immediately believes the worst about that person. And I mentioned something earlier in the video about about what I think the larger and greater issue is. I do think that that
Yeah.
is a portion of it. When I sat down with JD Witherspoon to have a conversation about this whole India love fiasco and debacle. He'll love that I'm hyping it up with some of those words. We came to an interesting conclusion and tidbit here about how the chat can drive these social media creators to say, do, and act things that they probably wouldn't do.
If I grew up, obviously, in my 20s with one of these, and live streaming was a thing, and also making content and being on people's radar to that level was a thing, I could see how it
Yeah.
could make you paranoid, for sure. That's my first time ever getting clip farmed. That's the word. That's the thing. I think that's more the chat than her. I don't know her personally. I have nothing negative to say about her.
You said it was the chat. What do you mean by it was the chat more than anything?
I think it's like the parasocial relationship of
Okay,
being.
I'm gonna skip past this a little bit because I am also tired. But again, they are right people, and really, if we're being honest, chat and other people online is a form of peer pressure to make you do things that you normally would not do, and that is a fact. And I'm also gonna end the video off here. Well, not really video, live stream, but hey, it is what it is. I love you all, and I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to like, subscribe, follow me if you're on Twitch, or go to Twitch and follow me, hopefully. And we're gonna call it here. Have a nice day, guys. What up? No way. Did it crash again, or is it just not letting me end it? That'd be crazy, right?